In order, everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, take the roll.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Wakefield. Here. Knutson. Here. Kennedy.
Here.
Brooke.
Here.
Hall. Here.
All right, tonight we are here for a presentation and discussion of the 2026 preliminary budget. You all set, Sam?
All set.
Okay, I'm up
Or Brent?
first.
And
Yep.
and Brent and I'll present, I think, most of this together, so.
Yep.
I think, start with by saying that, hope this is informal, so please feel free to interrupt either of us at any point and with either questions, comments, or concerns. Brent?
Yep, and to kind of point out, we're hoping to get input from a lot of, from you as to where and which questions we sort of need answered and direction as we're developing the budget. We're getting closer and closer to having a good number. It's still off by about 100 and some thousand. So hopefully by the end of the day, we'll be able to taper that down with your input and opinions. Oh. And I touched it, okay. All right, the first thing we want to do, so back in, I think, May, I handed out the survey to get an idea of how we might be, how the group might be thinking as it comes to budget items and what might take higher or lower priority based on what it is you want to see and what things we might be able to look at and say, okay, well, these are nice, but maybe we want to kind of start tipping away from some of those concepts or ideas. But this budget survey, my plan is that year after year, we'll look at this and you'll be able to see how things have how things trend over the years. Next thing, yes. So the very first question we had was rank the following strategic goals in order from most important to least important to you. All right, after the rankings, the most important is on top. That's where a majority of you kind of put your opinions toward. So economic stability and growth. And then as we go down on the list, you get down to the least important to the group as a whole, right? Not necessarily to you as individuals, but maybe to you, to the group as a whole. So a safe, healthy, and skilled community. Then efficient infrastructure, water, sewer, and roads. Knowledgeable and valued employees. A vibrant, livable community, responsive, accessible, and effective governance, and then outstanding recreational and cultural opportunities. So as we kind of go through that list, as we had questions of you during the budget process tonight, these are some of the things that you collectively have looked at as most to least important. All right, in general, do you think the city should put more emphasis on user fees as opposed to reducing service levels or seeking other revenue streams such as taxes? So, of the 6 of you that responded, increased user fees was by far the most selected option. Increased taxes came in second with one person optioning to increase taxes, and then reduce service levels. Nobody wished to reduce service levels in order to kind of make things work. All right, then you were given 100 cents on every dollar. So just like how we look at our budget today, we've got to distribute the dollar in various different places. So of every 100 cents, where do you want the service areas to be and how would you allocate it? Street repair and maintenance, clearly to the top. So we got them kind of grouped in the top 6, then kind of the middle and 5 in the yellow, and then the lower portion there in kind of a reddish brown. So street repair and maintenance was top at 20 cents on the dollar, 20 and a half. Police services at 18 and a half cents on the dollar. Fire services at 17 and a half cents per dollar. City parks maintenance and development, 7.7 cents per dollar. Then you had economic development, you can see the sense on the right, street cleaning and snow removal. And then we get down right at the top of the Midland section, we have public libraries, then land use planning and zoning, code enforcement, recreational facilities, community development, and then we get into the bottom three with the green initiatives, building permit inspections, which is kind of something we have to do when we're bringing in new development anyways, but it wasn't ranked as high. Social program support, arts and culture, and then fix blighted properties. Okay. All right. If revenue does not keep pace with growth and demand services, which of the following options would you prefer the city use in order to balance the budget in the following service areas? So on the left, you can see all the service areas. On the right, you can see it go from maintain service levels but raise taxes for them, maintain service levels but raise user fees, reduce service levels, eliminate service altogether, or even privatize or outsource that service. So everybody responded to the chart. Not everybody responded to every service on the left, right? So you can see some of those that they should total up to 6. Some of them only total up to 5. Somebody just chose not to comment on that particular service item on the left. So clearly at the top there we have police services, street repair, fire services, all ranked very high, kind of your standard functions of what we do in government. And then you've got maintain service levels and raise user fees, a lot of them kind of bundled in between those. Nobody really wanted to reduce service levels in a lot of areas or eliminate service altogether or even privatize or outsource. So there you can see everybody's way on the left of, yeah, we like everything we are doing, but raising taxes or increasing the user fees for it might be the way to go. Okay?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Are there restrictions on what fees? Like I've heard regarding like parks and say the boat moorings, are we required to, does DNR control certain fees? Does the state control like how much we charge for economic development, a developer that comes in? Or can we set those fees?
Does anybody out there have the answer? Mike, you want to come up to the podium? So I know we talked about the boat launch fees at one time or another, and there was a limitation on
Correct.
how high we could go.
Those I'm familiar
The
with.
boat launch, we are, yep.
No.
The moorings, we are not. We could raise boat mooring fees at our purview, yep.
Sure.
Those are the two that I'm,
So that's a small area. I wondered, when we look about, if it's a valid point, user fees, people who use a service pay more for it, but I didn't know how much, if we had restrictions on that.
Sure.
In other areas, like building permits, are they a certain percent of the project generally, and that's limited by the state?
Well, I know we
or-
can only charge like for the hours that we use essentially. You can't go too high on your user fees if you're, if it takes maybe 10 hours to do a job and we're charging 20 hours worth of work, right? I think Mike's going to probably comment on some of that, but you can't charge just a charge, right? You have to cover our expenses, but that's about it.
For our building code, we follow the International Building Code's fee schedule. So based on the type of construction, residential, commercial, industrial, there's a large breakdown of construction types. There's a multiplier based on your overall revenue that you can expect to see in a year. So in short, we follow the International Building Code for our permit fees.
Sure. And is that a law that we have to?
No.
And of course, we had exorbitant fees. In general, Hudson is an attractive place for people that do want to do projects, but if we had exorbitant fees, that might put a damper on it?
Correct. And we're pretty much in the middle.
Okay. Now, a question, we do charge developers a fee for the parks and so on. How do we,
There's park dedication, impact fees,
Okay.
connection fees, all of those things based on whatever construction it is. So there's a fee schedule that we adopt every year.
so that's fairly standardized. I just wondered, is it realistic that when we're saying, oh, we're going to keep doing this, but we're going to charge more? Can we charge more?
You could charge more, but then where does that cost?
A developer might back
The
away.
justification for the
Right.
cost,
There's a
right?
justification component, and there's also, yeah, are you wanting to attract projects or not to?
Yes, right.
Right.
So it's a column and people are definitely interested in using it. I voted for it in several cases or marked it, but I just was wondering how practical or likely it would be that we could do that. So anyway, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. Good questions. It's part of the discussion. Okay. Okay. The final piece was just for you to kind of put in your comments and enter kind of what you feel are the most important things that the city can do to improve the community. And this is just a wide open question, right? So with that, there were several people that several comments would fit. I fit them into these 7 categories, right? So the comments are spread throughout, but and the comments are exactly how they were written. So you'll see those here in a second. But so I've spread them out into police and fire, public works, planning and development, taxes and fees, staffing, recreation and environment, and informational side. Okay, so comments under police and fire, just simply they put, for improvements, I guess, go back to the question real quick. Just everybody should probably keep in mind, what are the most important things that the city can do to improve the community? So in police and fire protection, still continue, I would imagine, with firefighting, police, public safety, traffic enforcement, support for police, fire training, more aggressive code enforcement, and speed zones is something that you guys wish to look at. In public works, and it's not a typo, 2 different people mentioned parks. So again, things that you want to see continue or improve upon in the community is roads, bridges, street maintenance, trees, probably planting more trees, playgrounds, parks. Somebody else mentioned parks again. Invest in downtown roads, remove ash tree stumps, and I think as far as that goes, we're well on our way. Yep. Okay. Yes. More speed humps. Boy. Okay, more speed humps. I think we just got done removing speed humps, but more speed humps, traffic calming, and street conditions maintenance. So improve upon those. Under planning and development, zoning updates. So updates to our zoning, workforce housing, and then create a more aggressive business development team to fast track good developments. So somebody wants to see it move along faster. Under taxes and fees, somebody simply wrote, keep taxes low. Staffing, look for opportunities to have more diverse staff. Recreation and environment, protect the St. Croix, renewable energy in city buildings, yard waste options. I think you guys talked about some of that today during your public works. Plant trees, bike paths. Oh, you definitely hit bike paths today during your public works meeting. Trestle bridge, bike and pedestrian trail, composting, deer management, and a public pool. And under communications, community engagement. Somebody wants more community engagement. And then there's develop a website that is the one place to get all city information. Real-time info, calendar meetings. We have Facebook website, online confusion. So we have Facebook website, I think there's supposed to be commas there. Facebook website and online confusion. But we just typed it in the way it was written. So that actually is one that we are working on a little bit with potentially AI interface on our website. And we'll be bringing something to you in the next few meetings so you can take a look at possibly a request for proposal to go out and see what we can bring in for AI interactive piece to the website. All right, next one, is that it?
That's it.
That is it. Okay, so that is just the public, the survey that we handed out to all of you, and collectively, that's where your minds are at. Not necessarily individually, but collectively.
Thank you.
All right, now moving on to the 2026 proposed budget. Brent and I really worked hard to incorporate and keep in mind all those, I guess, the themes we saw coming out of the budget surveys as we put this together.
Then, of course, we met with a number of you, took us up on the offer to have the discussions individually so we could show you where the budget line items were. I think the majority of you did.
So where does this process sit as of today, and what does it look like going forward? Today, obviously, Finance Committee / Council is receiving their first look at the budget in total. We'd like feedback and changes to be made, and then those will be brought back to the group as a whole on October 6th. At that meeting, we will ask the council to authorize publication in the newspaper of the proposed budget along with the public hearing notice, which we will propose be November 3rd, with the idea that, and the county did confirm actually this afternoon that November 14th will be the day that levies are due to the county.
Yep, so the November 3rd date gives us an option if we're stuck on a few issues, maybe we need to kick it for another week. That would give us possibility of November 10th? Yes, 10th for another meeting if we needed to still get it into the county by the 14th. Hopefully, we're all done and resolved by then. Also, the last thing, by the end of September, beginning of October, we're expecting, we still do not have them, our health insurance update as to where that's going to land. So the big question mark we've had over the last couple of weeks when talking with all you, it's still probably the biggest question mark we have yet.
Do we get health insurance through the League of Municipalities, or where do we?
No,
Is it private?
yeah, it's through UMR
What
is
is
our
it?
current health system that we're in.
Okay.
Yep. And then Spectrum is our agent.
That's correct, and
does that.
ultimately, we are self-insured.
Yep, and we are self-insured.
And Brian, feel free to jump in on any of these items, but big themes we saw going into 2026 were continued employee retention, whether that be professional staff, DPW, public safety, also consideration of step increases plus COLA increase for our staff as they're our main asset.
And just to remind, COLA, CPI, Consumer Pricing Index for Wisconsin, places at 2.64 for Wisconsin, and that is what the Department of Revenue's Employee Relations Committee has recommended for all Wisconsin employees. And that's Wisconsin hired, or state of Wisconsin employees, that's probably the better way to phrase that, is recommended to be 2.64 in their budget. A lot of communities are going with that number. There are some at 2, there are some all the way up to 3, and all the way up to 5. So, but I would say that majority is probably trying to fit somewhere in that 2.64 or so. The CPI for Minneapolis region, and we're kind of part of that group, we're on the outskirts, was at 1.8, remember. So it's all within that same 2% location. So if you went with a 2% cost of living adjustment, you're right between Minneapolis and not all the way up to what Wisconsin is recommending.
Not to jump completely out of order, but that cost of living adjustment you see in the bottom right-hand corner, that is the Social Security Administration increase for those years. So that's the reason that does not tie to the numbers that were just quoted. Also going across the rising operational costs, we continue to see, whether it be professional services or supplies, those continue to increase at varying different rates. Labor market focuses on employee retention, and we've seen recently several employees leave for greater pay or greater benefits, whether that be across the river or to other communities inside Wisconsin here. Investments in infrastructure through, and I know we'll have a conversation about CIP items later this evening, but continued improvement in our infrastructure. Continued updating of city ordinances and policies. A levy limits that are put on us by the state of Wisconsin, which cap the amount we can increase our operational levy. The
Levy limits are going to be an ongoing issue for us, probably well into the future that we can see unless we really get exponential growth. in order to balance out what the levy limit is restricting us to. By example, and you'll see it here soon, about, I think 81,000 was our max amount that we could raise operations this year under the levy limits. So go ahead.
The aforementioned healthcare increases, 8% is what's built into the budget currently, and we do not have proposals back yet from our agent. The PD and DPW projects are underway. The debt, affecting the debt levy starting here in 2026. In consideration of incentives to bring in new construction and new, to increase assessed value in net new construction in continuing years. And then, as I mentioned before, those cost of living adjustments for the from the Social Security Administration. For those watching at home, and as a reminder for everyone here, you'll hear three different values thrown around by myself and Brent pretty frequently. The first being market value, which would be what your home actually sells for or your property actually sells for on the open market. Equalized value is effectively what the state says your property is worth. And assessed value, which is what the city says that your property is worth. And then our assessor, we go through that process periodically, and that is what the levy is allocated over. So
2021 was the last time we went through that, and we are currently in that reevaluation year. We'll be getting those numbers by end of October. Well, actually, we got a spot of it of what we're expecting, and notifications are going out soon. So go ahead, Sam. I'm sure you're going to head there here on this slide.
As Brent mentioned, we're undergoing an assessment right now. We were notified by the assessor that September 22nd, or 2 weeks from today, letters will be going out to property owners. The goal of that revaluation is to bring assessed value as close as we can to equalized value. As you can see on this slide, our assessed value and equalized value here are pretty far apart. And so they're about 42% of an increase there. So the goal is to bring all of those assessed values as close as we can to that equalized value. That does not necessarily mean, leading into my next slide here, that your taxes are going to increase. It means, it could mean that your taxes are going to increase, but does not necessarily. Tax rates are calculated by taking the total levy divided by the assessment and then timesing it by 1,000. So when we're doing a reassessment, we're reallocating or refiguring out what slice of the pie is each taxpayer's or each property owner's portion of the levy.
Once we get that number a little closer to each other, will it offset some of the constraints we're going to be looking at all?
Unfortunately, no. The levy limits focus strictly on the levy or the numerator of that equation, and unfortunately, assessment just looks at who picks up the bill, essentially. What portion of the bill is Randy's, for lack of a better, or what portion is each property owner. Not to use you as an example, sorry.
No, I'll just charge it off.
Fair enough. As Brent mentioned, levy limits is going to be a bit of a conundrum this year and in future years. 2024 levy limit calculation allowed us $10.6 million in total levy. 25 was at $11.95 million. Preliminary 2026 calculation, and we had Ellers double check this number, was the $12,798,709,000. That's an increase of the $840,000 number you see there. However, $759,141 of that is eaten up by debt levy increase and needed to pay next year's debt. That leaves us with $81,691 to increase operations by in 2026.
Now we get in kind of the tough numbers.
Yes. The number you see highlighted in green up there, the $13.91 million is the total expenditures if you took all of the requests from department heads as they filled out their budget into 2026. I'll note this does not include any of our enterprise funds, so no parking, no stormwater, no.
Utilities.
Yep, utilities. From that 13.9, we back off any non-property tax related revenue. So things like grants, things like building permits, interest from investments, fines, anything that's not actual property taxes gets backed off, which leaves us with $8.6 million for operations. That gets added to the amount we need for debt levy, and that gets us to $12.95 million for a proposed levy. Although I guess I should go back and note here, the estimated assessed valuation you see in red, I believe I can draw, but I did not mean to cross that out right there, is our total assessed value, or equalized value, excuse me. So we should be coming as close to that as we can with the reassessment. You'll note that the proposed mill rate goes down quite a bit. That does not necessarily mean folks' tax bills will go down. It just means the mill rate might go down because that denominator of that equation got larger. What is included in that $13.9 million here? What is?
Wait, I sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Yep.
Go back to that if you could.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do we explain that to our general public? So you're saying, yeah, the bigger the number, the less we pay would decrease by 23%.
Yep, so mill rate here, if you ignore this
Yeah.
times it by 1,000, if you pay
I'm trying to think.
one quarter is the same as 2/8, right? Your denominator got bigger in that equation. So as the denominator gets larger, right, the mill rate goes down, but that total levy, this total amount collected by the city is still going to
It's
go
the
up.
same, but it looks like you're playing a shell game. Right?
Not necessarily.
Well,
I think the idea with the
Property
revalue,
values have
The
gone up.
values go up, yep, so your property and your total equalized value comes back to what it actually is, right? Rather than,
I get that, but what you're saying, it just looks funny when you're saying we're increasing the assessed value,
yep,
but then we see a decrease on the mill rate, and the average Joe is not gonna understand what we're doing. So it looks to them like we're making a decrease in the tax, but we're not giving it back to them.
yeah.
Well, some people get hung up. I don't think people understand the mill rate. Most people don't.
That's right.
I don't think they do. It is a number that people do like to toss around when it goes down, makes you feel good, but I don't know that the average resident understands it very well.
Well, as Sam said, it's just a matter of who's going to end up paying for the, increased costs and things, and it's going to be the same amount that's going to be levied. It's just a matter of who's going to pay it. You've been through this 2 or 3 times already.
Too many times.
No, I mean, it's nothing different. It's not a shell game. It's nothing different than what we've been through.
Yeah, but most people, this is complicated. People don't understand.
absolutely.
So what I want to do is make sure at least me, I understand it enough, and I have explained it to others. But the average Joe, the new person moving to the community, they're gonna have some questions, and if they're paying $500,000 on a house,
And I think that it scares them when they see the assessed value go up. They're thinking that their taxes are gonna go up proportionally.
Right.
And so then they get scared until they actually see the tax bill. Because I've explained that to a lot of people too.
5 years ago or whatever, I think the tipping point, the break point was about 500, home of 400,000 or 500,000. I think maybe even 600,000. Everybody that had a home valued at that or less paid less in taxes. Everybody that had a home valued at more than that is picked up a bigger percentage. Is that right? Is that about the breaking point? Do you remember? Do you know?
I don't.
Did you look?
I did not look.
And plus, this all takes into account all the new construction, all the continued added value of the city, and then, of course, your value going up in your home as well, so.
Actually, I think it was higher than that. Anybody remember? 600, 700,000.
Well, yeah, and you make a good point that there are certain properties that increase in value faster than others, depending on the market. And so some people will be paying more taxes. I remember when we lived near Lake Geneva, and the houses that were on the lake increased in value considerably more than the rest of the houses. And so our taxes actually went down that year after assessment, but the people on the lake paid considerably more.
We can move on. I mean, that's about as clear as mud for everybody.
Well, one more thing to that. This is not unique to Hudson. We, meaning this group, is not doing this. This is math that is being done, all over the state for sure, and all over the country also. Different rules, but
Yeah, and once you get off by about, I think it's 12% or so, you have to start looking at new evaluations, new assessments in that equalized value change. We're at 42%, so we made it all the way to 60 in less than 3-4 years. I think 2021 it came into play in the 2021 tax roll. Is that about right, Mike, somewhere in there? Yeah. So the values of homes in Hudson and places, and not just the value of homes, but the value of properties, right, has increased 42% in that. You can look at it that way. Increased about 40-some% in the last 4 years.
So what was exactly included in this $13.9 million in operating expenses that's different from the previous year? As mentioned previously, the 8% increase in health insurance. There's a employee step increase on their anniversary date and a 2% COLA. I'll note that this is not compliant with what the council passed for handbook as of last week. If we choose to go with that, with what's in the handbook, which would be everybody takes gets a step increase, all employees get a step increase on January 1st rather than their anniversary date. The cost is approximately $53,000.
In total, yep.
Or if the council chooses not to go with that, it would just be an amendment back to the employee handbook, which we could bring forward at any council meeting.
It should be noted too, it's not one whole step increase, it's, we would average it out for the year for that individual employee, and then in the following year in 2027, January 1st, they'd start that process of everybody's with their step on January 1st.
So the cost of living that's being proposed at 2% would start for everyone in January.
That's correct.
Yep.
But we're going to decide about whether the step increases. That's up to the council.
That's correct.
To
Yep.
discuss. Okay.
It might be
COLA.
the question of balancing the budget or not with that about 53,000. So
Sure.
we might have to forego that concept until we can do it possibly in the future. But we'll have to take a look at that as we go along.
And I'll note that none of this is set in stone. Ultimately, the 2% COLA is the choice of the council as well.
Is there a section we're going to talk about the health insurance? Or have questions, or when do you want?
Whenever, I don't think we get
Yeah,
particularly
we don't have a
deep into
slide particular on the health insurance, but right now we're projecting at 8%. Last year, we ended up with 3.9% increase. We do know it's going up as opposed to what we had last year. We don't know what it'll go to. 8% is the conservative number on the health insurance.
Conservative, but, and if there's a savings to be had, you could probably take it, and correct me if I'm wrong, and on your narrative on number 6, excuse me, no, not number 6, on your municipal insurance, it's down 10K. Is there a percentage there that could cover the offset the health insurance?
That 10K decrease was unemployment. I believe we had a reduction in our,
Calculation for unemployment.
our risk factor there.
And that's already included with the numbers that we'll show you shortly.
Okay.
So that won't get us there now because it's all wrapped in with the number that we currently are able to show.
Do
Correct.
you expect a larger number than 8%?
No, that's the conservative number.
Yep.
Yeah. 'Cause we really didn't have any in the last few cycles, did we? Couple
Just-
of years back.
Yeah, it's been pretty steady. I mean, last year was a good surprise at only 3.9%. And, even at 6, I'm hoping 6, that's still lower than a lot of what I'm seeing out there in Wisconsin right now. So different communities are seeing a little bit higher
Do you know,
yet.
off the top of your head, that 8% increase on health insurance, what is that dollar amount?
About 66,000 roughly. It's
Not to get ahead here.
No, it's 22,000 per percent, it's single percentage.
So,
Okay,
Oh, there you are,
so
22,000.
each 1% decrease is 22,279.
Yeah.
thank you.
So if it went from 8 to 6, you'd be saving roughly 45.
40, okay.
On that same note, it seems like every year we're always waiting to hear about our health insurance, keeping our fingers crossed, whatever. Is there any other kind of term, is there any longer term than year to year so that we're not always backs against the wall? We have to just take whatever they give us?
Health insurance companies don't like to do it.
They don't, there's no, okay.
And they're kind of in the driver's seat with a lot of it,
Right.
unfortunately.
Good thought,
But,
though.
whatever does come back, I can tell you that we will, kick and scream and try to get lower for what we're at.
Do we need,
And we do need to do, you're probably going to say it, go ahead.
do we need to fear that increase to our employees, which I am really at this point not in favor of, that just doesn't help.
Yeah, and there's two parts to this. One is every couple of years, and I know we've been with the same company for a number of years, we should probably at least do another evaluation out there, see if there's any other opportunities out there. Not only with that, our broker is one, because some brokers allow additional, the prescription piece and other things that we can kind of work on. So one would be looking into other brokers, and the other would be having the brokers look into other health insurance companies that are out there. So we might be able to, in the future, save by making a change, simply.
The caveat on
Making an
that,
adjustment.
however, though, is that it's unpredictable. You
It
go
is.
out and you find another provider and all of a sudden sign up with them and then they come in with a 12% increase the
The
year you
following
sign up
year,
with
yeah.
them.
You
So
don't know.
It's all very unpredictable.
Yep.
You think the staff prefers to stay with the same generally?
Well, it's always easier. I'll say it's always easier on staff if they can stay with the
Sure.
group that they're within, right?
Not everyone.
Because anytime you switch insurance, they possibly have to switch doctors and all that other stuff, right? Unless that company can provide to the same groups that we have within town here. And then also, does it allow us to go into Minnesota? We're so close to a lot of the specialists in Minnesota. Will we be allowed to jump over to another state? So that's kind of the stuff that we have to work in and have conversation about. Now, Randy's point of can some of the additional costs be passed on to employees? I mentioned it last year in this same narrative, and I have it again in here. It's always difficult to do this, but you could go from 10%, like I said in here, to 12%.
But you're wiping out the cost of living adjustment.
Not exactly.
If we're doing 2%,
Well,
asking for 2% more.
that's 2% in wages is more than 2% in healthcare. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not dollar for dollar. But yes, you are taking a little bit of that back essentially, right? Not much, but a little bit, where it'd be more like a 0.5% or so that you'd probably be taking back to make that adjustment, somewhere in that numbers, somewhere in there. I would think it's about a half. So something to think about there too. And again, I think that's something that we probably need to look at in the future, but hopefully not this year. It's always something that I think is on the table. Right now, we'll have to, we've got other things going on. We've got police union negotiations as well, where that's a number that they've always had is straight 10% in the union negotiations. We'll have to talk about that as well, because I think we have to have that flexibility in case we do need to make that adjustment. The state itself requires, if you're part of that state insurance system, they require 12% of employee contribution.
Is
Part of that
the
system.
state plan or our plan, if you go out of network, is the one we have really good for our staff to go out of network or keep it?
Yeah, I would say what we have is a pretty robust plan. It has the ability, you have the ability, I mean, the employees will pay a little bit more to go out of network, but you have the ability to go out of network if need be. So they fit that difference in cost. It is there, though. It's, I would say, a moderate deductible. It's not extremely high, it's not low, but it's right around the middle of deductibles. I can tell you, coming here, I'm paying more of a deductible here than I did before. So, just different places. That's the thing, and it's kind of the difficulty with health insurance is every city's out there to kind of fight for themselves and.
But our census has gotten younger, right? So there
Yeah,
really isn't.
I would say that the way to put it is, I think we have employees that currently have lower risk. Anything can happen to any employee or
Of course,
spouse or
of
anything
course.
else, right? So, but right now, we're in fairly decent shape. We had a couple of high issues last year, but overall, it's very healthy employees,
Which helps our
but can
rate.
change quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Could I ask about the police union process? Is that moving along as expected on a timetable that we're going to have those numbers to fit in here?
Yep, the next discussion we have with, I think is scheduled at the end of this month or the beginning of October, I think. So, but we are planning on including those numbers. Right now, we have, what we've placed is the same as what we have for all other employees,
Okay,
is what the numbers that we're currently using.
okay.
And as you will see, there's not a whole lot of wiggle for
We don't have a lot of extra room.
anything else, yes.
Yeah,
So, but, you know, with that, and I'll just say the adjustments you've made in the budget before this last one, or the spring, or was it for the 2024 budget, and the adjustments you made for the 2025 budget has placed the police department in a very favorable pay scale right now. You made those adjustments and generously did that. I mean, you opened up the union contract and mid-union, right, where you could have kept it and waited for new union negotiations. I think you guys have done a lot of good faith stuff with the police department to make those changes. And because of that, we're in that, they're in the top pay in the state as it sits now. Now, we're not in the top pay compared to the state across the border, but statewide, they're doing well with pay as it sits now. So I would hope we can stick with all employees in that
Fit in.
same
Okay.
range, and that's what we put, again, into the budget. We didn't put 10% for police department or whatever, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yep.
10 or 12% or 13%. We didn't do that for the police department. We didn't do a percent increase in this for the police department outside of what we're expecting to hopefully get from a direction from you, right, the council, as to whether or not this seems appropriate for an increase into next year. And if this is appropriate, and we'd like to get that number from you, that's what we'll stick with currently in our budget. Remember, go back to the timeline all the way to the beginning real quick. Hate to do this to everybody, but we have all the way up until November 3rd, or even if we needed to, November 8th, to make an adjustment before the November 14th county. So if all of a sudden we have to go, oh, maybe we did too much here, or maybe we did too little here, we can make those adjustments as we come along once we get the health numbers and other things. But I think giving us direction as to whether we're hitting the right number now would be good for us to continue to work with those same numbers. So go back to that. So as part of that discussion, have we shown the overall numbers? I think we did, where we're at and how far over we are?
Yeah, one item I wanted to also bring up is.
Because we currently
is
are
tax-
over on our budget.
Is taxi.
Yep.
In previous years, we took the expenses paid to run-ins, and then we backed off any state grants, state and federal grants we received, and then the leftover was paid for by ARPA funds. ARPA funds are done, and so that leftover portion is now required to be paid, well, not required, but is proposed to be paid for through the general fund. So that's about $130,000, I believe it's 129 and change. The general fund is increasing for that this year.
And you talked about fees and fees and a fees adjustment before too. That's one of the areas we can take a look at, probably, heading into next year as to whether or not fees can be adjusted or not. you can't, you don't want to go too high with that shared ride taxi, but obviously, you know, we're looking at now with ARPA funding running out, you know, the full, I guess, burden of the taxi service is on the budget. And then that number can raise or lower depending upon how much the state has to put into the program and how often it's used throughout the state. So that they have a fixed pool that they split among all the shared ride taxis. If all the shared ride taxi is going up in services, right, we'll get less of that pie as well. So something to think about.
And that is, in fact, what's happening, right? It's growing. Growing means shrinking the available pool.
Mike, you want to say anything to that? I think it is continuing as a group. Yep, statewide. Okay,
Statewide.
that's correct.
And where in this, where do we look at that program again as far as rates that the city can charge?
Is there a window?
You want to get the microphone, Mike?
Because we apply for the grant yearly.
Yeah, so we do it yearly, so it won't be part of this budget cycle, it'll be the next year's budget cycle.
Okay.
Yep,
So for 2027, you're saying?
correct.
Okay.
Current issue at hand is that our proposed levy, or what you saw in the kind of ugly worksheet here, is
We're
12.
just going to call it the ugly worksheet. I like
Fair
that.
enough.
I'm fine with that.
Proposed levy of $12.9 million, and we need to get that down to $12,798,707. So we're over by $160,971. A couple of proposed solutions to that. One sits with library. You can see in the left-hand column the amounts that the library received from the city in 2025, and their 2026 requested amounts there in the middle column, and the net difference on the right. I'll note that the occupancy agreement is in negative numbers because that's an expense to the library and income to the general fund.
Yep. And now we do put the 2026, and Shelley is here. So when we put this out for budgeting, we have no idea what numbers are going to come back at all yet. And so everybody requests things out of their budget, and we sit down with them again and go through. I know Shelley's, we've talked with her, the library director, and we've talked with each of you a little bit, and I know she's here to want to explain some of the numbers as well and tell you what happens if we do certain things, if we need to do certain things to the budget. This is what's being requested. I think with the library being sort of like this independent group, right? They request an amount, the city provides an amount, and we have really no say on the operational side of things, right? So how they spend that amount is completely on the library and the library organization. So we didn't want to really change or play with this a whole lot other than the conversations that we had and that Sam and I have had to try to go through the steps. So we're here to sort of explain sort of an idea that we have to look at that piece of the budgeting. Of budgeting.
I'll note too that the 2026 requested column, that is what is included right now in this $160,000.
Yep. So that's the 2026 column at 826 on through. That's what is currently in there. I know you just said it, but I said
No,
it
that's
another
okay.
way.
That's
I thought
okay.
I said it better. But
Fair enough. In this chart, you can see the 2026 requested, that's the same as what you saw in the previous chart before, but then a recommended or an alternative amount that Brent and myself are proposing for the city contributions and the occupancy agreement going into 2026. Overall, by bringing the contribution amount back down to $744,366, you'd be bringing that down to the 2024 amount and would have a levy impact of $81,789. County contributions, obviously keeping the same, and keeping the occupancy agreement at the $90,000 is at in the 2025 budget. Total, this would have a levy impact of the $131,000 there, and this would still allow the library to have an increase in net funding of $32,475. Shelley, I know we had talked beforehand, don't want to put the spot on you, but I know you had some additional items you wanted to add to
And it
this?
should say that's the net from the city,
Correct.
the city portion. They still had an increase, and we don't have those numbers here. I think you might have them in your slides, potentially the increase between the county funding a couple years ago and today's funding level of 685, right? Okay, so we do have that slide for you if you wanted to jump, or anybody have questions before we go to the next
Could
step?
I ask a question about the county contribution, which I always think of rural circulations. I don't know if that's a good term to use or not, Shelley. What time, how is it calculated? I mean, when do you know how much you're going to get, and when do you get to start spending it? I mean, is it, you know, by August, the amount that you'll get in January, or how does those numbers work?
It's a 2-year lag. So
Whole year, okay?
2-year.
2-year lag, okay.
So this is sort of our first year of a full municipal library because it is based on the operating budget from 2024, which we were a municipal library, and the circulation data from 2024, which also our first year as a municipal library. So this is like the game-changing year, if that sort of explains like how the circulation and operating budget, and then so we do our annual report, get that approved by our board in February, and then those numbers, we use those, we send letters to the county, what they will need to pay us for the following year, and then those checks start coming in.
And it's, I mean, we're using the phrase requested, but, and of course you are requesting it because we're hoping to get 100% reimbursement for the circulation rate, but you don't get to request more then, right? I mean, it's basically, you're just turning in your paperwork, and congratulations, you've had actually a lot of rural circulations. I'm glad to see that.
Yes, yes.
Because that was something I was definitely worried about, is you have such great programming for people and community members outside of the borders of Hudson come and enjoy it, but if they don't check out a book, check out materials, then we don't get that compensation. So
Right,
your staff
exactly.
has done a great job at that. I mean, I don't know what number you were hoping for from the county.
Right.
More, but anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We are, having especially North Hudson so close to us, and now having them part of that rural circulation has been a big impact on those numbers.
Great.
Okay, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah, I can see my.
Okay, you'll be able to, okay.
If you want to go ahead, Sam, I'll just touch base on a couple of these things. So this is where we've reached the point, because of being a municipal library. Basically, if the city spends $1, we are getting 50 cents from the county for every dollar spent. And last year, say if the council had held us flat, we would have lost $17,000 in county funding. So that's sort of how those ratios are working. Sam, would you go ahead and thank you. I just wanted to explain, this was the impact of dissolution in 2024, and we had lots of conversations here about, okay, so all of this change, what are you going to do with the funding? And I told you what our plans were, and I just wanted to affirm. The biggest thing is we had to close that $165,000 deficit that donors were covering, so we would stay open all of our hours. And that's when we also enacted our market rate adjustments for staff. And I have an example here. The librarians went from a little over 20 an hour to 27. And then we opened Sundays during the winter months. So in addition to that, we did some new programming, and we have decided to focus some of our outreach specifically on senior citizens. And just an example, we have a tech specialist who rotates visits to the senior living centers, and he meets with people to help them fix their tech problems, which I'll tell you, he has a lot of adopted grandparents at this point. It's been extremely, extremely popular and an appreciated service. And then we also said we'd commit some additional funds for ebooks. And so we have done all those things. if you want to go ahead. So our budget pressures in 2026 are everybody's budget pressures, COLA, and we don't know the insurance. You've already covered that. Inflation's hitting everybody, every sector. So again, no surprises, programming and books, paper. But the main thing from what I'm trying to do is to prepare us for our building expansion, whether it is small or big. My goal, and I believe my responsibility, is that when the doors open, we are not here asking for money for staff for the new space or asking donors. With the 6 years it's going to take us to get there, with the right planning and being strategic, we should be able to open the doors without saying, we have new space, now you need to come help us with the new space. So that is the planning that I have been using as we go forward. And so the funds that we are getting, we are staggering and strategizing how we can do certain things now so they're done and ready to go without over planning, because, for example, you don't want to buy new shelves right now. There are going to be new shelves purchased when we renovate and expand. It would be a waste of time if they couldn't use them. So that's just one example. Sam, would you go ahead? So our request, originally came in looking for a request, knowing that that would amplify our county funding down the road. And there's a compounding effect, of course. It's sort of like when you start planning for retirement and your financial advisor tells you start now, because it compounds over and over time. It's that same with the county funding relative to the city funding. Can compound more quickly, less quickly, negatively, depending on sort of the city's decisions. So since putting in that request, we have all seen the numbers, and I know it is 100% not feasible, not realistic to put in a request for additional funds. The ideal situation for us would be to replicate the 2025 budget, just everything, keep it frozen. But I have talked to Brent and Sam about, perhaps needing to go back to 2024, which that's a pretty big challenge for us. But we know everyone in this city has pretty intense needs, and most of us are going to walk away with that list not filled. So we're part of the city now. We want to be part of the solution. We recognize the challenges. I just want you to understand that it can affect our preparation for the new space. We still have time. We'll keep working on it. And no matter what you decide tonight, our staff is so thrilled, and our patrons, with what you did in 2023, because you did not have to take that full levy capacity transfer, and you did. And we're going to do whatever we need to do to make the library exciting, accessible, a place for all families to come, enjoy, get the resources they need. Whatever you vote for tonight, we're committed to making that happen. So, do you have questions? Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to...
Anybody?
I do have a question, because I think it gets to the heart of how confusing the funding is.
It is, yes.
That the state of Wisconsin requires this. There's no options. They have dictated how libraries are funded. When you say the more the city spends, the more you'll get from the county.
Yes.
Is that because as you spend more, that shows your circulation cost, your circ cost is higher, therefore, hey, you get reimbursed more? Is that basically?
Right, since the formulas that determine the county funding are based on the operating budget. So when that goes up, generally your county funding will go up. But the ratios that we can't predict are what total circulation is relative to the circulation of those rural residents. And those are factors that can change, and I can only say based on If all those ratios were the same in circulation and our operating budget went up to here, then I can give you some estimates. But if those ratios are a lot different, it can swing those numbers. Does that make sense? Because we take our operating budget, we divide it by our total physical circulation, so not the ebooks, and that gives us a cost per circ, which is not a good name because it does not reflect the cost of circulating. It's the entire cost of running the library, from the light bill to the staff, the health insurance, the heat bill. That's all in the cost per circ. And
I
then
have
we
a question.
take that cost, I'm sorry.
So, like the foundation and the Friends will put money in for things. Does that, all that get added into the
Yes.
library funding?
Yes.
For that
So the
formula?
grants
Okay.
that we get increase our operating budget. Unless they were for capital, in which case they would be withdrawn. But our grants have been for programming and resources. So those go into the operating budget, and they also help increase the cost per circ, which increases our county funding. So that has also been an incredible help, having that in the formula. So then we take that cost per circ and multiply it by all the circulations by rural residents, and that is the bill that goes to the county. And we also do that for our adjacent counties, but that is a much smaller number, and those counties do not reimburse at 100%. And we have a little disadvantage of not having a county on our west. We have a river, so some libraries are better positioned in terms of that adjacent county funding.
One of the interesting points, though, also is that the county is not bound by a levy limit for what they
Correct.
spend
For libraries, yes.
for libraries. So it's definitely a carve-out. I sometimes say that libraries they're treated in a special way, some ways that benefits the library system, but in other ways it really hinders and makes it challenging. I know you've, in a way, almost seems like you're penalized if you're a more efficient library, then obviously having a small library in, let's say, Deer Park, probably costs quite a bit more per circulation just because of staffing numbers. I don't know what those numbers look like or how you're lining up with the rest of the county right now, but
Shelley,
it's
would you like me to
interesting
throw
points.
I have the 2023 calc up. Would you like me to put that on the?
I'm sorry, what?
I have the 2023 cost per circulation. And
Yeah,
county-
oh, sure.
Are you okay if I put that up?
Yes, when I was going to say about the levy exemption that the county gets, it's partially because year to year, they really can't anticipate,
Sure.
what is the circulation going to look like from all the libraries? And I think that's a good part of the reason the legislature has given that carve out, because it can change, the dissolution has changed a lot of that for the county, for example. They are now having to
Sure.
take.
You mean the loss of the joint library? Now
Yeah.
that's changed
Yeah,
things
that's
quite a bit for
really
them.
affected
Sure.
the county process. And it's the people in the former partners who are paying that portion now into the county. And it's actually more than what they were paying before.
I figured that was going to happen. Right. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your explanation. Sure.
Did you want to say anything about what's on the screen there, just to sum up?
I can't see it.
I'm sorry.
Sam, you want to do it?
Yeah. So this is from the 2025 St. Croix County budget book. As mentioned by Shelley, it's a 2-year lag. So this is 2023 operating expenses for each of the municipalities listed on the left. And then you can see the $989,000 for the city of Hudson. And then our total circulation in 2023, which was the $180,000, to get us that cost per circulation. Then you take that number and multiply it by the rural circulation, which, if I'm correct, Shelley, anyone outside of the city of Hudson but still in St. Croix County.
Right, yes, correct.
And then that gets us a 100% cost of the 512, but the county is only required to give us 70%, so the 359 is all they're required to.
Right.
I'll ask you to ignore
They've
the,
been funding at 100, right?
They have been.
They are at 100%.
yep,
Yes.
that's correct.
And when you say that it's St. Croix County, if it's River Falls or Baldwin, that does not count because they are already paying a municipal tax because they live in the city of Baldwin, and Baldwin has a library. So it's anybody who lives in an area in St. Croix County and they're not supporting a municipal library will pay this county tax.
And maybe the last thing is mentioning the potential relief for taxpayers within the city, but it won't affect any of the budgets. We had planned on maybe bringing that next week, potentially? The resolution that you have?
Oh, yes, we will have to pass the resolution for the county that says you are going to meet the exempt amount required, so the county does not apply the county library tax to City of Hudson residents. And you have exceeded that, and so there's no issue with passing that, but the county does need to get that. The thing I didn't mention when I discussed budget pressures is, I said COLA and some of our inflationary issues. We have known changes in our enrollment for insurance. And everybody here knows those are the big ticket items that hit our budget. So, and those are known, and so I'm trying to plan for those. So, thanks very much. Let me know if, I'll be here till we adjourn if there's anything else.
Thanks, Sherry.
The other item, and we've talked, I don't want to say ad nauseum, but was significantly about our health insurance. We don't have that back. We'll have final numbers in September. And then each increase, or each decrease by 1% saves the levy $22,279,000. Those are kind of the two big proposed solutions we have right now. Would like to hopefully get some feedback from council as to what direction you guys would like to go.
I think we got a couple things. The library piece, the potential increase, or the step plus COLA, and then, let's see, staff will see final HI. Oh, health insurance, yep. And we don't know on the health insurance yet. So we've got those two big items that we'd like to talk about, and whether or not we're heading down the right path.
I would also suggest that this is including everything that is requested from each of the departments, okay? It doesn't mean that we have to accept them. We can dig down into these requests and start to question, if we want, any of the additional expenditures requests that have come in from each of the departments. We have not had those discussions yet. All we've had is a presentation that this is what they're looking for.
And we did bring the capital improvement
Yeah.
piece here as well, so we can have those, you're right, to have those discussions.
Yeah, that's where we really need to go next, is we need to start digging down and seeing what needs to be done.
I want to skip 2 slides ahead real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, the item's not included in this budget. Let's hit these real quick. We do know Public Works will need employees at some point. That is not included in this overall budget. We did pull that $100,000 for the Public Works employees out of this. The step increase of 53% is not included in this budget. In other words, moving everybody to the January 1st. If we don't do that piece, then we'll have to go back and change the personnel manual again, but that's a fairly simple task. We can do that easily as a group. We are not including any HR manager. At some point in the future, an organization our size, we should really look at an HR coordinator at some point. And at this point, the assistant fire chief is included in this budget. However, there's no levy impact on that individual until 2027, pending our review of memorandum of understanding with the town of Troy that we'll have at the next meeting as well. Okay, I think that's that. So let's at least talk about those pieces, I guess, before we get into the next little bit, which really has to do with the capital improvements. Okay, so anybody want to talk about, is there any low-hanging fruit we want to talk about first?
One question, it is, so if we were to add our step increases in, we'd be looking at
210.
a bigger deficit if we don't cut anything as it is right now.
Correct.
Right now,
So
the
it'd be
deficit's
about
at
100,
160, right?
So it'll be about $223,000.
Correct.
If you're adding the 53 in on the step increase of
Oh, yes, that
160.
is- Yep, so if we decided to take, well, that's not the general step increases for employees, okay? So I want to make sure I clarify that. So we have the standard step and COLA, that's one piece, okay? This is throughout the year, okay, we have people hitting their steps at different points throughout the year. In 2026. So they have July 1st step increase to their next salary, whatever it might be, or they're hired in
Well, I'm a good example, Brian.
yeah, you're a good example.
I was-
They're hired in September, so their step increase will be in September. The idea would be to average that out for the year for that employee and then move them to January 1st. So that way it's easier on changes in, to their wages at the beginning of the year, so we're not doing it scattered throughout the year. We're not changing anything with health insurance, not health insurance, there was another piece to that, vacation or anything throughout the year. Everything just gets put on the January 1st date. So we're not having to try to figure out and manage throughout the year. That cost is $53,000 for that first year to make everybody adjust to January 1st. So that is not like COLA and step for the entire year.
No,
for all
I'm just going
employees.
off of this slide, of what, and the difference between what we're over by 160,000, so we've got a overage of 213,971 bucks.
Yes, to move everybody to January 1st adjustment, yes.
So did we, are we staying with the process where the step increases are automatic?
No, that's something different too. Step increases, well, because you already passed the personnel manual, those
Right.
are all annual review processes.
Merit-based.
Merit-based, yep.
If the savings is 53,000 and the library.
No, it's
That's a cost of 53,000.
if
Which
we-
hasn't
if
been
we
added.
went
Don't
to
do
that-
it.
If we didn't do it,
But he said it's not included.
oh, that's
Not
sorry.
included in that number now.
Sorry, I got all fired up there.
I understand. Yeah, we looked at it. It's probably the way Sam and I feel. All of a sudden we go, hey, I found something, and then we did it
But
already.
how are you budgeting for that then? The step, how are you gonna spread that out? I mean, we've gotta find a number that we advertise and tell people this is what our budget is. So it's $53,000, this one.
Yes,
Unless we don't do it.
unless you don't decide not to do that.
Just do it the way it's been, we have
The way
been
we've
doing
done.
it.
It's a little, it's more work on the person that we do have in the HR coordinator type position right now, but, it's just more work for her every year that she has to do it.
And if they were all done on January 1st, does that mean all of the staff would be getting their evaluation
Yep, we'd have
like in
to be,
December?
yeah, we'd be doing evaluations in November
Okay, and
with the
this-
expectation that I finally get to see them in December to make the final decision
Okay.
as to whether
So
or not
that
everybody gets their
is,
step.
would that be
Yep.
burdensome for the department heads to do that?
We did last year, I think, December, or all of them in by November.
It's kind of routine
Yeah.
that everyone knows they're,
It's expected, yeah.
yeah, they're gonna sit down.
So I have a question. So do the employees get the cost of living adjustment on their anniversary date or on January 1st currently?
That is still January 1st.
Okay.
Cost of livings are all at the beginning of the year.
Okay, and then they get their step increase on their anniversary
So
date.
whenever that might come up, yes.
Okay, so
I
if
think
we,
the police department are all July 1st or something, they're all shifted to last year or something, roughly.
so if we prorated it for this upcoming year,
Yep,
so somebody who was hired in September then would only get 3 or 4 months worth of increase, but it would start on January 1st.
but it would start on January 1st. We just average their salary out for next year with the step increase for those final 3 months onto the January 1st date. And then
Okay.
the following year, in 2027, everybody's now January 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds like that would make
Yeah.
sense.
It was
to do
easier,
that.
the cost of actually shifting everybody automatically to January 1st as automatic step increases rather than the averaging out, lot more,
Okay.
right? Because then you're looking at an entire wage increase for the entire year of 2080, 2080 hours. So yeah, that was the idea, was to, okay, next year, it's essentially, they're getting it all from beginning to the end of the year. And then in 27 is when that adjustment gets made.
So the way we have this is we have, the 130, 160 deficit, or what is it,
Yeah,
130?
160?
And then, but something that we already approved is not on there, so we're sort of taking two steps
Exactly.
back.
Yep.
And I hear you say that it's harder to do it on anniversary dates, and it takes a little more time, but we're looking at, let's say, a bill for 53,000, or someone might have to spend a little more time on something. I mean, to me, unless we can say, we're gonna have to bring in another staff member, or whatever. Right now, that 53 is a lot bigger than if we keep it the same, so.
It just continues to take her duties away from other stuff.
Understood, yeah.
Yep.
And it's not a benefit that I guess we did talk about it 2 weeks ago, but we're not literally taking it off anyone's plate. It's possibly just delaying the people who have been hired within a year, sorry, Sam. And just say, that would have been nice, that would have been a great benefit to the individual, as well as the city. It would make, it'd streamline things, and I'm all for streamlining, but if the streamlining doesn't cost more than 53,000, I don't think we can do that.
Yep, okay. Okay. Okay, so I think, are we hearing this right? Probably the step increase at this point, keep it the way it is, don't include it in the budget for 2026. Unless something comes about.
I mean, that's almost half. Again, we're not comparing numbers here, but that's a big chunk.
It is.
To add on.
Yeah, we, like Randy said, we're at a deficit of 213.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so leaving it at 160, now we've got the library piece and also our step increases plus COLA. The COLA, again, for Wisconsin was 2.64. For the Twin Cities, it's 1.8. They weathered, the increases this year in cost of living. So thought would be at 2% is kind of, contributing a little bit to what happened in the cities, plus still trying to stay up with what's going on in Wisconsin. Now, you can up it to 10% cost of living, we're fine with that, I'm sure, but then we just gotta figure out where we're getting the money from, right?
Right.
So, the 2% is, I think, kind of that sweet spot, but then we still look at step increases on merit base, of course. That could be a potential another 2%. So 4% in total has been added into the budget which shows reflected in the overage of 160 currently.
So the maximum step increase is 2%?
It's roughly 2% per step, yes. It could be like 2.01 or 1.998, or they hover around 2% per step.
Is that discretionary, or you either get it or you don't?
Merit-based.
Merit-based.
The full two?
How the review comes back, yep.
Okay.
No, COLA is automatic.
COLA's automatic,
Oh,
but the
he's talking
step,
about- He's talking about the step.
if you have a lot of employees,
All or
and
nothing is what
can
he's
some
asking.
get 2 and some get 1 and some get 0? Is it
No,
a
it's
pool?
a all or nothing, it's a 2%. That's the way you've established the steps so far.
That's right, okay.
At some
All right,
point,
we
we
need-
can spread out those steps.
We need to address that, and Brent and I have had this conversation. Should not be an all or nothing. There are people that, there's gonna be a point system or whatever for determining merit, and I would think that you could go by quarter steps, 1/4%, or 50, 0.5%, 1.5%, 2 is what I would like to see personally.
And is our current system, I think before it was like every 5 years you got a step, or it was more spread out, but now
Yeah.
it's every year you have
Every year it's considered.
you're eligible for a merit step every year.
And I agree, we need to spread that out too.
I don't know, we voted to.
Yeah, that's the way, again, you voted, the wage study came back, you guys did the wage study in '23, it came back in early '24. That's what's in place right now. Every 3 to 5 years, you should review those steps. The step system is fairly typical. I mean, you see that in a number of different places. Not necessarily a lot in private, but there's the step increase.
I don't know that that's necessarily accurate, that it's, I think the way Joy described it is probably more prevalent, where it's not something that's a step could be earned every year. I think it's staggered 2 years, 3 years, whatever. 3 might be a little high, and it's something that we need to take a look at. Because I think that whole study was dropped on us pretty quick, and we really didn't have a chance to review it and look at it.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, you agreed to in the study, after the study was done, was automatic every year, but we are going to do it on a merit base.
Well, I mean, this is maybe
It's a
not the
step.
day for the discussion, but we have talked about, and I've requested that we talk about our whole package that we offer to people. Does that, boy, I'm going to get a 2% raise in a year, mean more than another week of vacation, or, a little bit more vacation? What is it that entices and holds people?
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
we are starting the calculations on what the benefit package actually is in dollar value.
Sure.
Right? Yes.
Yeah,
You
but
were
it'd
talking
be
with
interested to
Michelle
know
about that.
what are the employees interested in? Again, 2%
Sure.
seems like a little bit
And
small
and
amount
that could be
compared
done,
to.
kind of through a survey of all employees too.
Yeah, be
to make
interesting.
sense.
Well, the other thing that we need to keep under consideration is what other municipalities in the area are doing as well. If they're doing step increases similar to
Yeah.
what we're doing, then we may need to keep up with them, depends on.
Maybe they need to keep up with our thinking.
Maybe.
You know, I mean, when you think about this, and this, obviously, this is something that I really am, I don't want to say passionate, adamant, call it what you will. You put this onus on a manager, right? It's an all or nothing step. Well, you have a manager that says, you know what, I really think that this employee deserves something rather than nothing, but the only option is to give this, and I don't think that they deserve the full 2%, but what am I going to do? And likely they're going to err, I would think, on the side of all rather than nothing. And I wouldn't blame them for that. So I think that, especially if we're going to merit-based, it's not an all or nothing thing. It's, do you deserve more than what you got? Yes. Do you deserve the maximum that we could give you? No, probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. But it makes a decision for the manager, I think, a little bit better, more palatable.
They max out
And
after
so I
5
would
years,
suggest
right?
that regardless of what they do, we take the lead on it.
And I think we definitely need to have those discussions. But what we do today is going to be a little different.
Any department heads that are here today that want to comment on it? The process? How does this land with your staff?
No, the review process is pretty standard, right? There's a form that we go through with each employee, review with them where they're deficient in, where they need improvement, if they're doing a great job, so on and so forth. So it would give more flexibility to that. As far as the steps are concerned, I believe when I was hired, and Mike, you probably know this too, I believe what the step system that we had in place is you had a step increase for the first 5 years of your employment, and then you were maxed out, and then the only improvement that you got on your wage was the cost of living. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's how it was. Yep. Correct. Yep.
Thank you for, that rings a bell. Thank you for explaining that.
So you did go step each year? Yep. Till 5, and then,
But then after 5 years, how do we keep our good people who are really trained and part of our team
Yeah.
if they don't have that incentive? So I can see why, we made a change, but is it perfect? I don't know.
I think it's something you can always look at, review, and approve upon.
Thank you for stepping up.
Well, we should be reviewing salaries in general, as often as possible to make sure that we're
Good day, Joe.
paying appropriately.
And as a department head, I'll maybe add, and every HR class I've ever had would tell me this is wrong, but at the end of the day, employees are a commodity like anything else. You get what you pay for.
Okay. All right, so where are we at on that piece for this year?
I don't know how I'd feel about that if I were an employee.
Commodity, like corn.
No, Sam's a good example. Yeah, we got what we paid for.
Viking fans.
Terrible,
Fair
sorry,
enough,
Sam.
fair enough.
Well, he said it.
He knows I'm joking. It's good stuff.
I believe we showed this expense pie chart in previous budget cycles. I think it reflects the surveys that were done. You see the largest portion of the expenditures in public safety and public works. I also think that it's going to be relatively similar to our peers. The dollar values might change, but I think the percentages are going to be roughly the same. The biggest portion in public safety and then public works thereafter. And then community development and parks following that. Brent, anything to add?
No, it also closely reflects to what we saw in the surveys and how people answered that with public works and fire and parks and police all toward the top of your desired scales. And there's library contribution in there, just teetering on that next step. So, okay, but we still want to finish.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that slide, please?
This one? Yep.
Yeah. So is street reconstruction in there? Oh, okay, it's by department, but where does street reconstruction?
That'd be part of our debt levy. At this portion, much like
Oh,
we
okay.
talked about last Monday, we've moved pretty much everything other than consumable goods and salaries to the debt levy at this point as a strategy to avoid that levy limit.
Okay.
And that's didn't take place this year. That's taken place over the course of years previous.
Many communities in Wisconsin have shifted into that, where they're taking out debt to pay for projects and pay for computers and squad cars and everything else through a capital improvement plan rather than through the levy. So that kind of gets us back again to where
So
we're
what are you
at.
asking for? I mean, I think if we hired someone and they were with a contractual agreement that they get the steps, I don't know that that's, I mean, can we pull that back? We can't,
Yeah. You can.
I don't think that'd be.
You're not going to deduct salaries or anything.
No,
that's-
but I mean,
But
if-
it's a matter of steps. You get step increases
But if you
with a
were
merit
hired
base.
with under the, maybe you don't sign anything, I don't know, I just thought that,
Yeah.
here's your contract, and after a year you get this.
Yeah, the only
And
ones
we
that have
just all of a sudden
contracts are
say,
myself
"Never
and the
mind"?
police.
Yeah, we're all at will
Yep.
employees, other than Brent and the union.
But you're saying there might be an expectation.
Right.
Yeah, if you were
There.
hired and they said, this is what we're gonna do for you, and then we say, never mind.
I don't think we're proposing, like,
There's
removing
COLA
all
and there's-
steps. I think that $153,000 was just to bring the people that are less than 12 months up.
I know that, but it seems like we've switched to some other, maybe I missed something here.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, we have changed up to a merit system. Now, you should know, there was always a merit system within the personnel manual, the one that they signed, all employees have signed when they came on board. When you adopted the previous wage study from 2023, I think early 24 is when you finally adopted it, early 24. When you did that, there was the expectation that when you adopted that, it was just automatic steps. You didn't change your personnel manual, and everybody that signed the personnel manual, it did have a merit base in it. We just reemphasized that in the current personnel manual, that you were bringing back, if you will, the step increases, the merit base. So if you're doing your job, you're doing it well, and you're making it through, just like the mayor said, you should be able to attain your step. If you're having problems with an employee, and any department head that's having a problem with an employee, we should be looking at either a performance improvement plan if it's really bad, right? And why would you, if somebody needs to be on a performance improvement plan, want to grant them a automatic step?
I understand, but
Right.
is that what we're trying to decide right now for this budget, or is that something that's just
No.
came up?
That was part of, I guess, the discussion, but we're trying to do steps, agree that all employees may, and that's what's in the budget, all employees may get a step, and all employees may get the 2% COLA adjustment, or capital, 2% COLA adjustment. So that's what's currently factored in the budget. That's what I need the input from you. If we're willing to do that right now, we're still 160 in the hole yet, right? That's just that first piece, right? So is that the number that we're working off of? And now, if that is, now we still have to look at the 160 and figure out a way to start bringing that amount down so we can break even, right? So other pieces that we can do, the library that we just talked about, the library piece, less city contribution into the library to bring the amount.
And that lowered it by 130?
Yes.
So then that leaves us at like 30,000.
131. So then you're sitting around maybe 30 or so. Now, health insurance, if that comes in low, all right, you're there.
If you're at 6, then that's.
If it comes in really low.
45,000, then we're.
Yep.
Fine.
Let's say it comes in really low, like last year's numbers, I doubt that, but comes in at 4%. Now you're looking at, well, maybe you want to swing back to the idea of bringing those, what we just talked about, the 53,000 piece. Or maybe you want to start looking at another employer, maybe you just want to put it all back to the library. But I think we want to get these ideas of where you want to be now, because we also have to start getting ready for the idea of publishing what we do have in the paper. Right?
And
That's
none
gonna
of
be
it-
in
Not
the next
about
couple
health
of weeks.
insurance, though, that's just a pretty big thing to like say, well, here's the direction you should go, and when we don't know where that's
Yep, we'll have that.
out of our control.
Yeah, we'll have that piece by your October 5th when we need to go for approval to publication.
Well, here's a discussion point. Does anyone feel like we should ask the employees to pay more, a higher percent?
In health?
Are you saying health?
Right. I mean, is anyone leaning that way?
That may be premature.
Okay.
We don't have that number. If that
Don't have
number
that
comes
number.
in extraordinarily high or at 8%, then I think that's a topic that we should be considering.
It's hard to talk about it when we don't know.
It is.
That's been our problem too. And maybe that's where we need to just, eventually, I hate to do it, but put another pin in it. Operating with what we are considering now, looking at the library piece right now, so kind of throw everything on the table that gets the number down as low as we can, right? And operate from that standpoint. That's probably the way to start at this point, right? The 130-1, and Shelley's right here too, and you guys need to make that as an idea. Maybe that's the number we look at. That'll bring our numbers overall to what we say, just about 130 or 30,000. Wait for health insurance to come back and see where it comes, right? But I also want to talk about the CIP stuff too yet. So what's your thoughts?
Can I just ask, before we do that, so the Public Works employee,
Okay.
so that's out there that we're thinking about that, that's another 100,000.
That's correct.
That would add an additional 100,000 to this budget, yes.
Okay.
Now, I would be willing to say, Public Works not, to do one employee is kind of a drop in the bucket. He probably needs a good 3 or 4 employees, as we saw in his report as well, just to get him to the point of, what did we have, about 20, a little less than 20% added in roads and everything over the last 20 years, maybe? So we've added a lot, and not a lot of employees to aid in that stuff.
But are you saying that why
Plus-
hire one if we really need 4? I'm not.
Well, no,
that's
I
not
think
what
you gotta
said.
take the step. No. I wanna say, even though if we add one in, it's a drop, he needs more.
Yes.
And we're going to need more
Right.
over time here to try to get that to where it needs to be. But again, we're gonna be faced with these constraints
Right. So
probably
that-
every year for the
That
next. how many years?
53,000, if coming back, how all the numbers come back at 53,000, rather than adding that in, can we stretch somehow? I mean, right now, again, are there any other points you want us to talk about that where we could cut, or someone's operational budget, or are we just gonna sit with it for
Well,
now?
there is, okay, and Sam and I talked about even like the 53, you do have a reserve yet. That's a one-time expense to drop the 53. You could dig into the reserve for that piece. We're operating at about 35% reserves. Sam and I would feel comfortable if the reserves were at closer to 40%. Good practice is anywhere from that 35 all the way up to 40 or 45%. Anytime you get over, in my mind, anytime you get over 40%, you should spend that money down somewhere. Right now, we're sitting at 35, which is a comfortable amount. Now, we need to think about the referendum, potentially, fire department referendum next year, which means probably hiring an individual or a firm to go over and aid us through the referendum process. You're looking at probably about 55,000. You probably need to take that out of the reserve piece in order to pay for it, because we don't have general fund or levy amount to pay for that piece, right? That's a legitimate one-time expense, right, to take out of what you have in reserves. You roll that out of reserves into the operating budget for the 1 year only to pay for the consultant to help with that process. The other one you could do, again, is potentially moving everybody to January 1st. If you wanted to do that, that's another way. I don't recommend using reserve funds for clear operations, right? Something that's long-standing, like let's say, and I'm going to pick on DPW, we need two or three DPW workers. So you'd have to take out 300,000 annually out of your reserve to pay for the DPW employee. That's not a way to operate. You don't pay for employees out of that fund.
Well, I'm just gonna comment on
You can do it for one-time purchases.
Sure, and that makes sense, I understand that. And I'm gonna just use that to segue into some comments I made several years ago. I might have looked like the Grinch that was not in favor of the shared ride taxi because we were using grant money, using one-time money to stand up a new program. And now, what are we running into? We've got to dip into, we can't spend that money on roads, streets, new police officer, public works employee. I mean, we made that decision to do it. Is it well received in the community and used? It certainly benefits a segment of our community. It is not our primary focus that our duties are, public safety, public works, library are what we're charged with. And so I do think we veered there. We stood up a new program with grant money that is now gone.
So to that point, you're supporting, and this is where the public has to understand. So we keep the shared ride taxi, or do you end up cutting into the types of services that you are providing, which is, Miraz is doing a lot with the same people over the last how many years, right?
Right.
Eventually, those services are going to start to wane. He's not going to be able to do all the things that we want within the community. So what's more important for the community, one versus the other? And that's what you have to constantly weigh when doing a budget, right, for this type of thing. So what's more important, shared ride taxi, or not that you would cut one or the other, but it's just a matter of what's more important. You guys doing library, paying whatever for a new police officer, doing this or doing the fire, we're having to make those decisions. And I don't always want to be the kind of doom and gloom piece of this, but we also have to realize probably over the next, again, you're looking 5 years or more out, unless something happens where the city can grow in value. If we can't gain in net new construction look, 35 million gained in net new construction this last year amounted us a total levy increase of 81,000, almost 82,000. That was it. So how do you get to that point? If we can't see that kind of growth, we're going to be facing hard decisions over the next several years.
We're gonna have to make cuts.
I have a question about last year's budget. How did the actual expenditures compare to the budget?
The expenditures, we can go back to that one slide, right? Can we?
Do you want 2024?
2024.
Well, in that one slide, it should show us both. Oh, no, 24.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can only go back to 25. We'd have to dig further in.
Yep, I'll have to go to the audit.
did we have a surplus in '24, do you know?
We did, but, and it dumped a small amount into
Okay.
fund balance.
So we were pretty close with our
Correct.
our budget, okay.
That's, you can always see if the less you are able to dump in is because we're in that thin line already.
Okay,
We're pretty much just, when it's wages and salaries and healthcare, and that is pretty much all that's in your operating budget, I mean, for the majority of it. The only time that you ever get to maybe dump a little bit extra back into the general fund at the end of the year is when a position goes vacant for a number of months, right? So right now, we're in the middle of hiring, some more police officers. Well, how long that goes on, that's money that we didn't expect to save, if you will. That'll go back into the general fund balance. That's all you end up saving. You don't save
Yeah.
on,
No, I know
hey,
that.
we had streets, or we had
Yeah.
this, or we had parks. That all gets spent every year because it's such a little amount.
Two quick items. I think they'll be quick. Back to what Joy was talking about regarding the rideshare program. Is there a max that we can raise our rates, our individual rates?
Yeah, I know we were talking
Is it
with Mike
part of
about
the-
that earlier.
You can stay seated, Mike. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
he had to leave.
Yeah.
I want to say there is a max that you could raise it to, but I don't know off.
Okay.
And hours
And-
of service.
Right, and
And-
like dials that we can adjust, and again, like, I remember that conversations, that was one of the toughest ones we had, and I think, we said, are we prepared someday to say, we gotta yank it now because we can't afford it, and here, we're getting close to that day.
Yep.
And I was very much for it, because I remember the number one thing is accessibility for people that need transportation, and obviously health, medical visits, but even haircuts and things like that. I don't ever remember saying we want to provide a very, very, very low-cost alternative to any other transportation method. So when we talked about, when you opened up with a comparison of should we raise taxes or raise user fees, that program is something where we can look at user fees, because an individual is getting an individual benefit from that program. We all benefit as a community, don't get me wrong, but that's where a person is using the service, and we want to make sure that they're, pay, to coin a term, pay their fair share to help buoy this, because we're all in a way paying for those rides. That was number one. So I do want to keep that somewhere on the, maybe not front burner, but don't push to the back, one of those middle burners. The other thing, when you said, where are the chunks of things we can look at, or I'm sure you and Sam have talked about that. Some of our properties that we own, the public works, when will those become available to hang a price tag on and get some sort of return on?
Yeah, we
on those
do need
properties?
to evaluate all those properties. I don't think there's a plan currently to go through the values of those properties, but then we'll need to make a conscious decision if we're going to sell them.
Sure.
What are we going to sell? How are we going to put them out on the market if that's the case? And then it'll be just one-time income into the general fund balance. So, yes. that
Absolutely,
would
but
grow
as
that
we're
piece.
finding, we need some of those injections
Yeah.
wherever they're hiding right now, so.
Yeah.
Just, again, it may be future, I don't want it to be forever future, like, well, someday we'll do that. And again, it's not an automatic that we sell them, but, land moves a little slower, and the idea that, we could have some discussion about what a value is and what the timing is would kind of help us, again, maybe not this year, but
Sure.
like you said, that we're going to be facing this every year for quite some time until, things change, so.
Yeah, until levy limit calculations change,
Yep.
and we can grow really fast, or who knows what else.
A little bit of all the above, yeah.
Yep.
If I could go back to Councilmember Hall, in 2024, the amount the general fund reserve, or fund balance grew by was $74,712.
Thank you.
So that really shows that thin
Yeah,
amount.
we were very close.
That just means everybody budgeted pretty well that year. whether or not, I don't know if we lost a whole lot of employees, but
The last few years, we used to go through, on Green Bar, when it was printed, we'd have a binder. We could actually go through every department and start shaving with you guys.
Happy to provide that, yep.
yeah, if anybody, we kind of did some of that during the individual meetings to show where everything was.
I mean, because there's uncovered stuff there, like, there's membership things, if we're that hard up, there are things to be cut in each department. Believe me, I know you guys have done all a great job in running thin. And I think every election cycle, we always say there's nothing else to cut.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna find anything, to be honest. I've been trying, I've been at this now, this is my second year going through the budget. I don't know if you're gonna find a lot. The best thing that we can do, and we have been doing, is looking at the line items that we do have. And like, we just got a new phone system that's cheaper than the old phone system, right? Less expensive. I know we just did the services for cleaning services, right? Those are the little things that we can do to try to improve things. But, you're not gonna find supplies outrageous. You're not gonna find, there's just nothing other than people. But anybody wants to go through it, boy, Sam and I've said, we can provide that for you, so you can take a peek.
I think it comes down to how lean do we have to be? And right now, we're at $160,000 to find. You could save it, you could dig and you could find it. Supplies, I don't know if weights and measures is a fixed income, fixed equation. There's memberships and conferences. Well, you don't get to go next year. Continuing education, as long as it doesn't affect their credentials. There are cuts to be done. Your eyes might be a little blurry from going through it so much.
Hey, maybe. It just might be bloodshot and blurry from trying to figure it out, but.
Are there any
I'd welcome, anything as an idea. But
I second, if you could send that out
That's
to us
fine,
to
yeah.
review, it would be,
It's a
and
good idea to look.
Yeah,
for those that want to dig through it. Can you also send this PowerPoint with that?
Yeah, get it out to everybody.
We've been in worse times in 2008, I think it was.
That was really
9.
scary.
Those were that was tough. Nobody wants to get rid of anything service. No one wants to lay people off. But we have to do our fiduciary job, and unfortunately, it's an uncomfortable position to be in.
Yep.
But we-
And we're close now, remember now, if you decide the library piece and you decide the other piece, not adding that back in, we're within that 30. We just have to see what health insurance comes back at, and then whatever else you might find, that would work too. So,
Are there any user fees that we could adjust?
Parking.
yes.
The parking is your own utility, that doesn't
Yeah,
go to the.
it doesn't come back to
general
that.
fund.
It doesn't, it's not part of this group,
It
but
does not
yes.
go to the general fund.
No.
And it,
Can it?
well, it pays for the parking lots in the system.
Wow, how's that going?
It's the enterprise
Well-
fund.
Seriously?
I'm the one, and I'll admit it.
I think
I'm the
it's-
one that said pull it.
I think it's going
Don't charge
fine.
parking.
And do what?
Don't charge for parking. I'm the one that put that on the list.
Well, that's a hour-long discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question about the hiring of another assistant fire chief. And I understand that depending on how things move along, the Troy Township would be paying the first year's salary. What would happen if they agreed with that and then things fell apart?
Yeah.
I mean, you're assuming though, after the first year, our partnership would pay the salary, is that correct? Drew?
Yeah, it'd be a 60-40
Yeah.
Correct.
split roughly.
Right.
But the referendum might not get passed, I mean, we don't want to let someone go when they're, go ahead, I'm
So-
sorry.
So it's a no-cost item next year to the city and to the partners. That person doesn't even start till May. So if that Troy portion fell apart and it would decide next week at the council meeting that that's not for us, we don't care to pursue it or provide that service, it doesn't affect anything.
You just
Regarding
wouldn't
the-
hire them. They wouldn't be
They just
hired
wouldn't be
until
hired, right,
things
so you
were
wouldn't be hiring somebody that wouldn't be funded, right, for that
Yeah.
first year. Then, after 2026, then that gets absorbed into our budget, but again, it's a 60-40 split between the city and the rest of the fire partners within the,
And as Lynn was saying, the goal of a referendum to raise more money would help address that
correct.
salary and
Correct.
others.
Yes, that would be absorbed into that referendum.
I think the bigger question, perhaps, is, or underlying that question, is if the thing falls apart with Troy, is there a need for an assistant fire chief?
I believe there is, and there is no second person that can come to these types of meetings. There's not a second person that can take over in my absence. Yes, I have 2 assistant fire chiefs. They're volunteer fire chiefs. They have regular jobs. They work the regular jobs. They don't have somebody to back them up. Tonight, Brad's here from the police department because chief can't be here. I don't necessarily have another person I can send to these meetings to take my place.
And what about addressing the question then of bringing on full-time firefighters? You would probably, in my opinion, that would be one of the duties of an assistant, right?
Correct.
You've got more people that need to be managed.
Need to be managed, right. And that assistant chief position also takes over our training. So right now we have one of our captains that had a training. It's a challenge to sometimes get a training plan out for the year because it's, again, we're trying to utilize volunteer people, right, to do a lot of these positions. We have NFPA we have to follow for training regulations, ISO, state of Wisconsin, all these different things. So there's a bunch of things that have to fall into place that position would help oversee.
And I also presume that would be, to some extent, if not entirely, taken care of with a referendum in the event it should pass.
To fund that position?
Yes.
Correct. That would be part of that, yes.
Okay. So
So there may-
outside of everybody, I'm sure everybody understands this, but just for purposes of public that might be watching, referendum, then anything that is generated through the referendum is outside of levy limits, so it would not necessarily be included in this budget, this type of budget that we're talking about right now.
Correct.
Yep, it's over and above.
Sure,
your
and,
existing.
and I absolutely appreciate that you need the help and the support in having an assistant. You're definitely seen that picture that you've painted for us. Why would you not be hiring until May?
Because with the 100,000 that Troy was willing to put forth to make it a zero increase or zero cost to the other fire partners, with the benefits, we have to start in May, because with the benefits, 135,000.
Okay.
So the only way that I wanted to make this a goal was that it was a zero cost to everybody initially.
Okay.
That because the increased workload with the town of Troy, I felt they should help fund the position initially
Yes.
at a zero cost to everybody else.
Sure.
Then as things progress, that person then takes over more duties and we share that cost out over all the municipalities.
So the $100,000 just pays for, 7-8 months of a
Correct.
assistant
Yep.
chief? Okay, thank
Yep.
you. Thanks for explaining that.
Sure.
But that's a one-time referendum, right? So any,
Really? Did you want to come up and talk about that, Mike, or?
I mean, for that specific purpose. But so we're talking trucks and buildings and, or whatever, trucks, let's say, and salaries. What happens year 2 after
It's a
that?
one-time in perpetuity.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to handle it. You extend it indefinitely, right? So one way you write the referendum that this is how much we're gonna need every year. It'll increase by whatever it is, COLA adjustment every year, right? And then that could go on indefinitely, or you could put a limit on it in 10 years. You could work it so that it tapers down so that you could try to fold it into your budget. So those are all kinds of ways that you would want to kind of write that
Right.
referendum.
So that's my question. Do we know where we're going with that?
We will, in the not-too-distant future, be discussing the language for the referendum.
Yep.
All right, and those considerations are going to be everything that you've heard here tonight that we're going to have for foreseeable future, we're gonna have very limited capacity for any type of budget increase. And therefore, that needs to be taken into consideration when we do the wording for a referendum.
Yeah, I don't know how you could roll it into the existing budget going forward. Let's put it that way.
Good question.
It'd have to be indefinite,
Thank you.
likely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sam?
So I think we've gotten feedback on most of the items. What is the council's will on looking towards library to?
Are we making those decisions tonight?
We'd
or-
like to have direction at least.
Yeah, I shouldn't
I
say
mean,
will the council
Because I
do
think,
a vote.
and that's fine, but I think there are other discussions in other departments that we have to have too that are not
Absolutely.
included in this.
Okay.
Going back to the request for the book.
Are you talking about the capital improvements piece?
Oh, no? Am I?
Just the operating.
I don't
No,
know.
I think,
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I think the understanding.
Because, yeah, there's the capital improvement that we talked about last
I can't
week,
remember where yeah.
which talked about the boat and all those other pieces, but that doesn't affect the levy
Levy.
piece.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
It would in
That's
fact
right.
affect the debt levy.
Okay.
So my understanding, and just want to make sure we're all on the same page, or everybody seems that the 2% COLA and step seems in the right ballpark. And then
Put it in for now, or
council would like a copy of the workbook that includes all the department expenditures and revenues by line to look through.
One
Again,
more,
go ahead, Ray.
one more quick question. How much does it cost a year to operate this, the transportation?
Net, about $130,000.
How much?
130.
And how much is covered by grant next year? What's the total cost of the book?
like 300, I believe, so roughly 215, somewhere in there is
All right.
covered by the
So,
grant.
and Mike, you're right. You know, this is what we said last year when we did this. We were saying if this is gonna cost us, as money goes away and this becomes problematic for us, this is gonna be right at the top of the list for discussion anyway. And it's nothing
Well-
that I wanna see go away, but
Well, a solution to the problem, and I don't like it at all, is the state gives us the opportunity to do a wheel tax only for transportation needs. If we're at 15,000 people at a $10 wheel tax, that pays for that, and it pays for our deficit. I don't like it. It's just an option, and the state has its requirements as listed here. But it would get us out of that, and we can go dedicated it exactly to what it is for, transportation.
so what would you take it to?
$10 a wheel tax,
Just
sent
$10?
right to.
I believe the max you can charge is $10, and if I remember correctly, the last time I looked into it, the state keeps 40 cents of that 10. so
However
you're
it
gonna-
works out to make it whole,
Of course.
however it works out to make it whole, you could do that,
Right. Didn't the county do that?
yes.
Yes, the county did.
And what are they at? Are they at 10?
10, yep.
All right, something to consider. We had also talked about taking it out again to bid. You know, I think the previous provider had said that they would like to come back and take another swing at this. And the biggest issue that we had with them was that they did not have vehicles that were handicap accessible, right? And now that we own the vehicles, they're ours.
They are? Ours? I
I don't believe we own the vehicles.
I thought we did. I thought we bought them.
didn't know that.
I don't think we.
And Mike is not here. Because I've asked him that in the past, and he said we owned them.
That was my recollection too.
I didn't remember that.
I don't
Well,
remember
that's something that we
either.
need to find out,
Okay.
especially, let's just say, if we own them. You know, it makes it even better, you know,
Right.
to go and find a service, perhaps the last one, the previous one, and let them use our vehicles. You gonna text him?
Yes.
Good one. All right, well, all right, so one other thing that I would like to toss into the equation is frankly, I really think that we need that additional employee in Public Works.
Yep. Yep.
So I would like to have that included in the conversation. And I know that adds to the deficit.
I would agree with that if we could possibly. I think that's, they've been waiting a number of years for that, and our city is getting bigger, more complex, and that we need more than one person, but we need to get started somewhere.
Yep.
I agree, and when we talk about, bang for the buck, again, that moving the step thing to, I'm not picking on you for
No,
that.
I'm good.
The step thing with the price tag of 57,000, let's say, which is not taking anything away, it's just not offering a benefit right here and now.
Yep.
But when we talk about another public works person, just think of this rollback time, we had a lot of garbage issues and talked about, well, that fell right on Mike's lap, the storms we have, the potholes, the plowing's not being taken care of, are the street reconstruction's gonna be done by the time school starts, and that all funnels down to that one particular department.
Yeah.
And I know we talked, again, we're always gonna bring up an HR person.
Yep.
We do have a lot of employees for not having that function. There's probably, companies with 12 people that have one. Not that that's right or wrong, but
But it's
I
a
do think
low-hanging
that-
fruit that's probably easy to do. At this
Absolutely,
point,
yeah.
Not to include, yeah.
Yeah. And to kind of circle back, Shelley, your last slide, I don't think you have to necessarily bring it up, but was your kind of final roll up to that, was that last year's numbers was kind of where you were sitting at as opposed to? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's the question? Are we focused right now on the library?
Well, unfortunately, any string you pull is going to tie on to something else,
Yeah.
but I think when we're asking people to, do what they can with, however small of a budget or, cut as close to the bone as you can, I think we have to figure out what flexible, the library, every dollar we take out of there affects maybe hours, maybe, some of the programs we do, but I think because this is the time we have to do it, we have to stack rank what we think our responsibilities are to the taxpayer, and, Public Works does come number one in my book, so, and fire and police and library, okay.
Shelley, if you could, and this is just repeating what you've already said, but you talked about every dollar that we spend, we get, for what, circulation, we get 50 cents back.
Right,
from
the
that.
ratios right now, we're getting 50 cents for every dollar that that the
And-
city gives us, we'll get an additional 50
And
cents from
given
the
what
county.
you have said here, that you're coming in, you've amended your request to a $0 increase, how does that impact the revenue that we get from the county?
So it would be about a loss of about 21,000
Okay,
in the future.
every year?
Yeah, it all compounds, and it gets complicated because if our circulation ratios, go in flux, and suddenly we have tons more rural residents circulating, well, that would increase our county funding regardless. If that goes down, then we're going down. So it's really hard for us to say too far ahead
Right.
how that might play out.
Okay. And that would hit us when? 2 years from now?
Yes.
So 2 years from now, we'd be expecting a $22,000 decrease thereabout, based upon our current circulation costs.
Yes.
Was that if we went with the 828, or was that if we went with the 744?
If we cut from where we're at now,
At 778? or
Yes.
what? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding too that.
yeah, so it would be 22 because we were looking at 44,000, right, this year? So it would be 17 to 18 based on the drop to, it depends on the projected amount or just what we're at now, to 26 staying in 2025. So I'm making sure I'm not double counting the numbers here and giving you a bigger number. So if we stay at where we're at, that would be about a $22,000 loss.
Okay.
If we go back farther, then we're looking at compounding that, so.
Compound it, yeah.
Yep.
And Shelley, is that the actual, their number will decrease by that amount, or it won't increase by that amount? It'll stay static?
It will decrease.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so where do you want the discussion to go on this right now? Whether we agree to what Shelley's asking for, just a 0% increase in what she's currently getting?
What I'm hearing is kind of put a pin in it. I'm putting words in the council's mouth, so I'm always a little worried to do that. Put a pin in it until we get the health insurance, get you guys the budget workbook, and the COLA and step increases seem in the right ballpark.
And then we'll project yet in our budget lines, we'll still project with the library piece, the employee piece not doing the step increase, and then try to throw back into the budget for now to see how much farther we're under if we add in a DPW employee.
And when you mean the step increase, you mean not moving it to the January 1st?
Yes,
Bookkeeping
that's what I
part.
mean, yeah.
That's
The bookkeeping
It's not
part.
the- yeah, it's the
Exactly.
bookkeeping.
System, yeah.
It's kind of a high price tag for bookkeeping at this point. And then we'll have to, if we do that in November or so, we'll bring back personnel manual to make those adjustments too.
When do you anticipate that we'll know our shared revenue coming from the state?
We do know that already.
We know the dollar amount?
Yep, we got that in.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
It shifted upwards by, I want to say like 17,000 or something like that, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got that number. Why don't we send them an email tomorrow to show what the share revenue is, the change from last year to this year.
Will do.
Yep, that's all been in here now. We
That's
know
not a variable.
everything's in there now, yep.
Got it.
There's no hopeful, $100,000 increase there. No, it was pennies on the dollar.
Would you call that baked in, Sam?
Yeah, baked in, yeah.
Yes, that's a new term.
As you've noticed, I have not used it tonight. I've been trying to hold my tongue.
I was quite disappointed, Sam.
I know everyone's always concerned as to what the other taxing jurisdictions are proposing. Digging into the school packet for tonight, I think they met at 7. They're proposing a 14.01% increase to their levy. I think that includes also the referendum from last year. But I will caution everyone, we shouldn't be making our levy discussion or decisions on other jurisdictions and what they're doing. Could not find anything for St. Croix County or Northwood Tech. I think St. Croix County, at their last meeting or last couple meetings, went through a CIP, but has not gone through the operational budget at this point. CIP discussion. I know we talked on Monday.
Well, we should ask, maybe, do you want to go through the CIP portion, or we can bring this back on Monday to talk about our CIP stuff, which is the addition of the boat, the addition of the other piece, or do we want to go through it now and see how you guys feel?
So isn't it also the issue, the question that was posed before, whether we want the $500,000 increase?
Exactly, yep.
On top of that too? Okay.
Yep.
What do you guys want to do?
Keep going, or wait till Monday?
You want to do a drive-by for us to sleep on,
Surely.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea.
Executive summary,
Yeah,
high level.
more politically correct way to say it.
Yeah, I will bop over to the other presentation from Monday.
Yeah, why don't you go right to that?
It's
And
already prepared.
This was what I showed to council on Monday already.
Yeah, okay.
So no new information here. Police is requesting 2 squad cars to be replaced in 26 and 2 in 27 at a cost of about $100,000 apiece.
And can I say real quick, every $1 million that is borrowed is that would add, let's hit this first so that you can keep this in mind as we're going through, okay? So every $1 million that you're borrowing is $76,000 to the debt levy, okay? So that equates to $30 per 100,000, or let's say it's $500,000. So every $500,000 is $15 per 100,000. Okay, so every $500,000 you take out is saving residents $15 per 100,000 into the future. Okay, but of course we do know we have to do capital improvement projects.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
So let me ask this. then.
$15 per,
Our levy limit, the maximum levy for levy limit guidelines is 7.6.
Yep.
And what we are projecting for debt service, given what we have here, would be an additional, what would that take us to for an increase?
14%?
What?
I think it was 14% on the,
Yep,
you got
on the
to switch back. We had that on that budget sheet.
Well, I don't remember seeing that.
Yep, hold on.
Sorry, got too many things
Smack
up.
up against the
Oh,
side of the net.
it's all kind of shuffling. It's the shell game that Randy was just talking about.
14%?
We shuffle, yes.
No, that's not, I don't know if that's a shell game.
Okay, here we go. It's 13.58 for debt levy increase. So see all the way on the right there, you see the red line for
That I
the
understand,
debt levy.
yeah.
It's almost 14%.
And that is to pay for just existing debt. That would be nothing that we're gonna talk about in the 26, 27.
Exactly. So that's to pay for the buildings and everything else that we have now. That's baked in regardless. We can't change that amount this year. Whatever you decide on capital improvement this year will not change the 13.58. That's already been done, okay, for capital improvements. It doesn't change our budget for 2026. The capital improvement projects for 26, 27 will change or have impact on the 2027 budget. So the borrowing we do in the spring of 26 for the capital improvement projects we're about ready to show you, those will have an effect on your 27 budget.
I will note. when we
And
do
debt
that-
levy, not necessarily the operations, but just
Yeah,
just
okay,
the
that
debt
makes
levy.
sense. That makes sense.
Okay?
And that debt levy is backed out of the levy limit calculation, which is why City of Hudson, along with many other municipalities, have shifted a lot of these items out of operations and into debt. It's because there's no limit, there's limits on debt, but it's not in the levy limit calculation.
Yep.
So
So our operatings go up to pay for debt levy, essentially.
the total levy for 2026 for operations and debt service is going to be 8.38,
Would be the 12.95.
12.95.
Operations and debt, yes, 12.95.
Because you take your operating expenditures minus the amount that you get in all the other revenues, that gives you your levy for operations, and then we have our levy for the debt, which is at 4.34 million
Oh,
now.
you're talking dollars. I'm talking percent.
Oh, you're talking the
Oh, you're
percentages.
talking-
over to the
8.38.
side.
We're talking percent, yes.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry. Yes, percentage.
I thought you were talking 8.38 million. I'm like, well,
No.
he's close. I'll just pretend
No,
that's
I'm
the
trying to
number
figure
from
out the
6,
total levy
8.6.
percentage here.
Yep, I get you what you're doing.
Yes,
All right.
correct, 8.38.
And then in 2027, given everything that we have in, let's just assume everything that we have in capital improvement, we don't know what our operational budget would be, but we presume we're thinking we're going to be at levy limits again, right?
I would assume we'll be very, very close, yes.
Any idea, just ballpark, what does that mean for our total levy for 2027?
Oh, that's hard.
What does
I don't know if you can,
okay, so the increased borrowing is going to be the big one, where our levy limit's going to be what they are. What is the increase in levy for 2027? Because we're approving that right now.
5 million. If you go to the chart, that should show roughly with the curve chart that we have from, it's down below, right? There we go. Yep, back up a couple.
Oh, I got ahead of you.
Okay. Well, we didn't know if we would need this chart, so. So 27, you're looking at
Close to 5 million.
almost 5 million. By 28, you're at 5 million. And that's if you don't, at that point, borrow anymore, because then you could start paying it off.
All right,
But figure
so-
we're gonna hover at that 5
So
million.
what does that
or
mean
more as time
for
goes
our
on.
levy, debt service levy percent for the budget for 20, what we're about to do in this budget, for bonding, for CIP,
Yeah.
what is that total debt service going to do for additional levy capacity, or not capacity?
I don't know if we can get that calc this.
I'd like to have a good idea what that is
Yeah.
before we vote on increasing the CIP by
Yep.
$500,000.
I think that's a number that we'll have to look, I mean, unless you have it quick, Sam, that's a number we gotta work through the calculations, so that's not
This
gonna be
is
till
all-
Monday.
This is awful preliminary.
You're gonna do the off the cuff thing,
And,
all right.
and I
Back
know,
of the
I know
napkin.
that you're not gonna be able to be exact, I understand that. but
Okay.
like
So
to have
what I
some
did is
idea of-
I moved this year's debt levy over here,
All right,
and then put 5 million in there, which is a round number admittedly, and then held all other operations the same. We'll move this over to here. So you'd be looking at a 9% increase.
Okay, presuming debt levy limits stay the same, right?
Yep,
yep,
Okay,
and again, that's real rough, I don't
that's real
wanna,
back of the napkin.
so that's gonna be another, we're looking at eight something for this year and 9 something for increase, right?
Yep.
So 8 something increase for this year, 9 something increase for next year, and toss into that a successful referendum
yep,
for a full-time fire.
which would be an increase to the tax base, but it wouldn't affect either of these numbers, right? It will be obviously an increase in, bottom line, it's an increase in taxes, right? That piece would be an increase in
Significant-
overall,
Significant increase.
Yep.
Every year,
yes.
every year. And that's without a number of other variables out there
Yeah.
that we're still working through.
Well,
Exactly.
there's no way around it other than that we have made commitments and bonded for some
No,
really
I-
big projects.
Absolutely, and then
In
the
a
things that
very
need to be
small
done.
time period. And that initial, I mean, I was around for some of the discussion with the prior city engineer about that goal of, okay, we can only spend so much, but then we're gonna ramp it up. That was probably based on maybe doing one building and then, keep it rolling.
That's
But
right.
it was a goal, it was a projection. There's
It
some
was-
significant costs coming our way.
And
Because
both
we've
buildings
undertaken some
fell in
big
your lap.
projects,
Yeah,
right?
at one time, that's hard, yep,
They're a good value, what we're getting for the city, but it's all happening at once.
yep,
It's a lot of money.
yes it is.
So in other words, what you're wondering is what are our plans?
Well, I just think everybody needs to be looking at this with eyes wide open. We are also, I think people need to understand this right now, because you may not have heard it, but you probably did in your individual meetings. But we're also talking about the possibility, the likelihood, I should say, of another referendum, which is going to be for police protection.
Potentially, or you could combine police, fire,
No,
referendum together.
You know
Well,
what?
I think you have to say it. I mean, whether you
So what
you
he's
agree
saying
to
is
it, that's
combine the
something else.
two, and I personally, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I am not in favor of that at all, in combining the two, because we put at risk the success of the first one that's coming through, especially if both of them are gonna be in perpetuity.
But it's good to have those discussions, you're right, exactly.
And I do
Yep.
not want to I think they stand alone. It's not an all or nothing, once again, I'm not in favor of that, because that jeopardizes the outcome of the first referendum, which is gonna be
Which
fire.
is a partnership.
And yes.
The fire is a partnership.
And they will all be doing referenda, by the way, the same referendum. Each one of our partners will be doing one for fire, because we are all at levy limits.
And so if one community doesn't pass,
No, what happens, that's a good question. What happens is, because of the way the contract is worded, if every community, no matter what we do, if we pass this, every one of our partners must,
Has
by
to.
contract, follow, okay? They must follow. If they fail to pass their respective referendum, then it goes to their budget.
Yep.
And they
Okay.
will have to make significant budget
I
cuts
gotcha.
if
I
their
gotcha.
referendum does not pass.
They would have to make adjustments there, yes.
but
Okay?
it's crucial for it to pass then in Hudson.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which again goes to my point, I don't want to jeopardize the outcome of that by adding risk to that question on the ballot. Okay, so again, it's not pretty. It's not pretty, and we haven't even talked about bridges, or other things like that.
Oh.
No, it's not pretty, but it is what we have. I mean, it's the reality of where we're at.
Right.
For sure. I mean, and so these are going to be very tough decisions over the next few years.
Right.
And this year as well. I mean, we can already see it as a very difficult decision. Okay.
What else you got, Sam?
I'm gonna have to ask for Brad to walk me to my car tonight, I think.
Yes.
Let's see how the Vikings are doing.
Oh boy.
Not well.
Oh boy. Brent, did you want to talk anywhere around the tax impact, or come back to it towards the end?
Which my brain's mush now too. What tax impact you said?
The tax impact of, I guess for every million on a $500,000 house,
we
you're
just
looking at
went
about
through that.
$150 a year.
Yep.
Yeah, I just.
Oh yeah.
See, your brain is mush too, isn't it? We just did that one too. That's okay.
Going back to police, requesting the 2 squad cars each year at $100,000, and then a swap of their police boat, which would be paid for.
With 75% from grant is what they're proposing. But again, it's a police boat. Anyways.
So keep in mind, something that hasn't really been discussed that much is if we put the grant for the boat is predicated upon greater presence on the water by our police department, which means
More
increased
staffing.
cost to our police department should we buy into this grant. I'm not in favor of it personally, but I don't know if we want to discuss that tonight or some other time.
Well, yeah, at some point, we'll need to discuss what we're putting into this, to the capital improvement plan.
But this isn't just about buying a boat.
And again, this doesn't impact, I shouldn't say it that way. This impacts that debt levy line item that is an expense to the city as a whole, right?
Right.
So if we're going to look for stuff to cut here, for it to be impactful, we really probably need to find almost $500,000 to $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million would save $150 for a $500,000 home.
That's $150 a year.
$150 a year for a $500,000 home. That's what it saves that
Right.
taxpayer, right? That homeowner.
And I definitely want to save that for taxpayers, but I mean, I think our department heads who are needing equipment, the police, fire, public works, they're on a good replacement schedule for a reason, their resale value, all those things. But we have also put our street maintenance on hold way beyond the resale value. At a certain point, we may have to decide to hold off on buying some equipment, even though maybe it wasn't the best decision, but it's time to do some work. I mean, that was the objective, again, it's a goal, it's an aspiration to spend more or at least keep it even. I mean, otherwise, I'm wondering if we have to cut back to $1 million rather than going up to 2.5. I mean, we've got to find some wiggle room somewhere. So I don't know what the
street
right thing
maintenance,
is.
you want to just kind of flip through to that one real quick, since you brought that up. Okay, so street maintenance, right now, we're at 2.5 for 2025. We would keep it at 2.5 for 2026, and right now, it's proposed under that plan that you guys had approved a few years back, it's to go to 3 million in 2027, okay? And that impacts like the PACER rating that you see there. We've made improvement between 21 and 23. We don't have a 25 average yet, but you can see where we are making improvements on our roads, albeit 0.5% or half a step. I think it's a 10 scale. We're at 5.51, so we're the better half of bad, if you will. So we're edging upwards, trending upwards. But that's because, again, I think you put money into that piece over time. So how the 25, 26, and 27 impacts, we won't see those numbers for a number of years yet. But You can see just a little bit that we've done with the, I think, in '23, you were probably at about 1.5 or 2 in '23. Somewhere in there, maybe, Mike?
Yeah.
A million in the street maintenance, somewhere in there. 3, yeah.
Yeah, we're at 2.
We're at 2, okay. So, but now we went to 2.5 and now up to 3. Do we keep it at 2.5 in 2027? That saves $500,000. But then we gotta look at that policy again. It looks like Mike's got something here.
I mean, that's obviously, you all know the situation we're in. If we were to stay at 2.5 million, it would just basically change the types of reconstruction that we would do. It would be more mill and overlay type projects, maybe taking chunks. I take, for example, 9th Street, right? We all know that 9th Street is very, really bad. Well, to do it from, Wisconsin on top of the hill by the cemetery all the way to St. Croix Street, or let's just take from Vine Street to St. Croix Street. That stretch is about, when Dean was here, he did an estimate, I was like $4 to $5 million project with all the utilities and everything involved in that. So obviously if we're looking at projects like that, and that's only a 6-block, 5-block stretch, it just limits what we can do. We can still do it, but we just have to take it in chunks or put more money towards mill and overlay projects, more seal coating, that type of stuff to just kind of.
Well, and to also put to that point, the bigger the project, the better the bidding you get as well.
Yeah.
Right? I hate
But
to
it
put
just
it
gives
that
them
way,
an
but
idea of
yeah, if you have to do
what
it in
we-
chunks, you're gonna get less of a bid process.
Yeah, it just gives them an idea of what project we would be able to do if we were to stay at that level, right?
Do you think if we took that $500,000 out of 2027, that would impact the Locust Street?
It would basically be Locust Street in 2027.
That's what we would do.
Yeah. Yep.
So
And
again,
that's 3 blocks.
Right. It's, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
heavily trafficked, but
Yeah. Downtown is obviously a little more complicated with all the sidewalks and everything. But yeah, it gives you an idea of the costs associated with complete reconstruction. So,
and I think that study showed back when it was done a few years back, 20 or 21, you guys did that study, or was it earlier than that? It was like 80, 85 million you had in there?
yeah, Dean did that.
Worth
back
of
in, like,
projects
2020.
needing?
We're 100.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's your decision what you want to do, and we'll try to adjust our plans and Public Works Committee and our engineering staff, but it just gives you an idea. We'll work with what we're able to work with and, go from there.
Mike, I know that you have told us this before. What is an average statewide PACER rating?
Yeah, we're in the ballpark here. Yeah, most communities are around a 5, everyone is facing the same situation that we're facing. Their needs outweigh their, funding by a lot. And so decisions are having to be made as far as what streets need to be redone, what goes up the priority list, so on and so forth. But it's around a 5. Rich.
And this is a scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10, yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion on streets? Going back to public safety, fire has requested $500,000 for the replacement of tender 1. I believe it's, Drew, if I'm correct, a 2005, and is starting to have some rust on the frame, and they're thinking probably a year, maybe 2 before that frame gives out. There is some trade-in value, but relatively minimal.
It's a 20-year-old piece of apparatus. By the time you would order something and get it, it's probably gonna be closer to 22 years old. And there is frame corrosion that started on it. It's an era of trucks. If you do any Google search on late 90s, early 2000 fire trucks, there's a lot of frame problems out there. It's still in a condition that we could have some resale value or for sale value out of it. How much? I don't know. 25,000 maybe, potentially on it, but it's not necessarily a truck that's needed in the city, but it's a truck that's needed in the rural. It hauls 3,000 gallons of water, so it's something we need obviously for our non-hydrant areas. So, The unfortunate thing is I have a 1998 tender that we won't be replacing because that's actually in good shape. So to tell you that 98s were a good year and 2005s weren't so good, it's unfortunate, but that's the fact of it, so.
And just to be clear, we have a total of 700,000 here. Approximately 40% of the total will be paid by the partners. That's 40% of the 700,000?
Yes.
Or is that baked in?
Yes.
I wasn't trying to use that word,
40%
but,
of the 700,000.
okay, so
well put,
our
yes.
exposure would be,
And I would note that we
40%
would
of that.
need to bond for the full 700,000, and then we're paid back over 10 years. Assuming we took this out in 2026,
Okay.
be
So it's-
2027 through 2037.
so
for these
it's our credit card,
Essentially, yes.
pay us back,
Do
okay.
they pay us back an interest on that?
No.
Okay. But we pay the interest?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
for 20 years.
50,000 for the replacement of turnout gear, 100,000 for an additional pickup truck. My understanding, Drew, is that's for the assistant chief position.
Correct.
And then $50,000 to build out 2 offices within the fire department. My understanding is those were cut as part of the original fire build as a cost-saving measure. We're now out of offices, and those are being asked to be added back in.
So as you go through here, if you think there's anything that could be shifted or dropped, now's probably one of the times we can.
Should have been wearing white tonight, Drew.
I stand corrected. Average appraiser rating in 2023 was 6.2.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay, so we're behind the
we're
average.
behind.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A lot.
I didn't want someone to call me tomorrow saying I said it wrong.
Yeah, okay. 7.5 behind
In
average.
our IT department, and these are one of those things I think we've switched from a operating expense to a capital expense over the years. 35,000 for security applications, 40,000 in 26 and 27 for PC replacement, and 50,000 for network switches.
Which are, I know a lot of people know, but can you tell what a network switch is?
I would love to tell you, but I would need to defer to my city administrator to tell you what it is.
Whoa, there you go.
Wow. Yeah, I think we can get our computer people in here to explain those. No, it's just simply that little, you see in all computer cabinets in corporate places here and everywhere
modem
else.
me and
It's essentially, it's
communication
all the
piece.
connections for all the PCs and all the information coming and going. So all the camera systems, all the,
Gotcha.
everything that operates on the, I think it's the Cat 6 wiring, which is that blue wire
Yep.
that runs everywhere between computers. So these things, so they all go to a switch.
That long one that we got running up
Right
there.
there.
Well, that was an HDMI, but that's okay.
The $50,000
Yes.
cord.
Nate, was there anything you want to add to that?
He wants to
All right,
stand
thanks.
up though, probably.
Thank you. It's all right.
Elections is requesting $65,000 for a DS450 counting machine.
Is that replacing one that's, or
Replacing 2 machines.
2 machines?
Which
Okay.
would bring down the staffing needs, and it processes much faster to get our results to the county, as we're the last ones to report.
So, but they're not in need of replacement.
Well, 2028, they will be.
Okay.
Because they were purchased in 2015, so we're at the 10-year mark, and that's the lifespan they give you. So the county's looking at all of the replacement for 2028. It's preliminary right now.
So shifting this from 26 to 27 would make a lot of difference if the machine,
But it would bring me down, yeah, and then it's a staffing
because
thing.
capital improvement, okay.
And there's no funding anywhere from the state, any
No,
support?
I've asked the county, yes,
support.
no.
What do you do with the
It's too
old
bad.
machines?
We could resell them, but with the technology where it's at, I don't know the exact value of what we would get out of them. But I know there is smaller municipalities that would easily pick up another machine.
Maybe the parties would kick in. They want quicker results.
Public, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it just keeps coming.
Yeah.
Public Works is requesting $325,000 for the replacement of a plow truck, a 2010 plow truck, and $50,000 for the replacement of a 2021 Tool Cat. In '27, $50,000 for a Graco line laser, and $225,000 for a vac trailer.
The vac trailer comes out of the utility? Oh, the stormwater utility, okay.
So is it the same thing where we, how, when we collect that money from the stormwater utility, how does that impact
That portion of the debt would be paid for by the utility,
Okay, gotcha.
including interest,
Over a period of time, or are they?
as the payments come
As the
due,
payments come due.
Yep.
Okay.
unless we're paying for it via fund balance.
Right. You wouldn't even.
Okay.
Oh, I gotcha.
Then we would not bond for it, and it would reduce it would reduce the bonding principal amount,
Okay,
or the $225,000.
okay.
And we would just.
Streets we talked about. Parks, $50,000 for the replacement of Anderson Park Playground. My understanding is it's just come to the end of its useful life and on the rotation for replacement. And then $15,000 each year for miscellaneous benches, grills, fences, things of that nature.
Do painting and all that stuff out of that, or miscellaneous? What, like paint and, or is that out of a different,
Paint for the
for the buildings and
The miscellaneous line.
miscellaneous?
miscellaneous line, so that's, like Sam
Just what
said,
Sam had, okay.
like picnic tables, park benches, garbage cans, grills, that type of stuff. If a bathroom needs some new toilets or partitions, it's basically taking some operating expenses and putting into the debt levy.
You know, Mike, you and I talked a little bit about this. I don't know if I asked you, I can't remember if I asked you this question, and if I did, I can't remember what your answer was. Out at White Camp where the shelter went down,
Yes,
is that being replaced?
as of right now, no. Well,
Is
we
it
do.
planned- Do we plan to replace it?
Yes and no. So there are monies available in the current CIP for shade structures for the splash pad that we're constructing. So
Right.
we have $30,000 in there for that, and it's going to be discussed at Park Board tomorrow night. And so we can get two of them. They're a little different, but it'll be by the splash pad itself. The one that went down, we do not have plans to replace at this time.
Was there an insurance claim on it?
No.
Could there be?
We submitted it. I don't think we ever heard back from that, did we?
I have so many of them right
Yeah,
now. I can't
yeah.
remember. I'd have to look. I know we talked about it.
Yeah, I think we did submit it. I don't think we ever heard back from them. to
So,
be
well,
honest
I
with
guess
you.
that's an issue for the park board on whether it should be replaced, right?
Yeah.
Looking at totals, this has included everything, including the vac trailer, so note that you probably need to subtract that from the total. However, you're looking at a overall bonding of about $8.7 million, everything included in here. And that also is the going up from 2.5 to 3 million on the streets. We've talked about the tax impact, and we've looked at both the, this is the current debt levy, and then the addition of a 2026A. We've discussed.
Okay, so I want to focus on these a little bit.
Yep.
You can either this one or the last one. I mean, when we look at this, we see the tailing off, right? The payments.
Yeah.
It looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's not.
Because there's going to be
Because we
other
are going to
things.
continue to be bonding every single year, and this is going to continue to go up and out beyond the 2047, 2048. So don't let this fool you.
Yeah, the expectation is we'd have to continue to take out new debt to pay for all of that stuff that's now moved on to capital improvements.
That's, you know, and
of
presuming we
operations.
stay at levy limits for a period of time, depending upon what happens to those levy limits, more and more of what we're doing seems to be shifted to borrowing.
Yes, but
So-
there's also a tipping point there as well. We don't have enough to pay off the borrowing.
Bingo, yep.
And how is our rating with Moody's standing right now?
They had noted some level of concern that our operational budget was not adequate for a community our size, and they were concerned that we may run into issues in the future, some of the issues we're talking about here tonight. They said we're still at a healthy, our rating is not at imminent danger of falling, but it could affect our rating going forward. And they may decrease our rating and we pay a higher interest rate.
But it's also what, like, second highest it could possibly be,
Correct.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there's good
You
news.
say that again, I'm
It's the
sorry.
second highest rating that we could get.
Right, and I mean, the city has, over many years, worked hard to keep that,
That's right.
maintain that, and,
And yeah, actually, it's increased, you know,
Right.
a couple times, I think, since I've been here. So, I mean, that's not bad. And then, of course, things change, right? I mean, if we get a big boost in development, you know, and our net new construction percentages go up and our levy limit goes up, but that doesn't mean, all that means is that we're still taxing more within the guidelines or within the constraints of levy limits, and we don't have to borrow as much. So, and we still have some very big projects out there.
so the net, could you explain the net new construction? That's a percent based on what we already have? How much more do we grow?
Increase, yes.
Yeah.
It does not include increase in valuation. This is important
Okay,
in our TIF districts. Okay, so we can see significant increase in the valuation in our TIF districts. None of that is included in net new construction until those districts are paid off, and that, and then it all comes on the rolls, and then things are looking rosy.
well, and I know you're wanting to cast a realistic vision when we already are well built out, and a lot of property value here in a small area. I mean, Hudson is very prosperous.
Yeah.
And a lot of property value. The idea that we're gonna have some big jumps, is gonna be tough within our current perimeters, current boundaries,
Right.
so. we're gonna
Well,
have-
that's right. I mean, we've seen that any growth really, other than the dog track, which was in our district.
Sure.
And, yeah, but any other growth has happened through annexation,
Right.
apparently, you know. And that will, I think there are opportunities there, but we wait for developers to come to us. We know that Derek is out there looking at UU. We know that there are some developers that are looking over at just south of, what is it, the Hollow.
Yep.
And perhaps over at the Lockney property, but, which is just south of the dog track. So, and I mean, people have shown interest in that, in the Lockney property in the past. We'd like to see that happen at some point. But, you know, so, I mean, that's what we're looking at. We annexed the property out on Stage Line,
Yes.
but we haven't heard anything in a while about that development proposal.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we have, the big one is going to be Gagnon downtown, but that's in a TIF district.
It's in TIF, yeah.
And how many years until that starts?
Well, it pays, I mean, if the Gagnon project is approved, that's a, you know, and
Right.
how many years ago, dollars, $50 million a couple of years ago. That would go a long way, I believe, to accelerating the payoff for that TIF district. But just to put it in perspective, Hudson's average has been 12 years, right around 12 years for paying off the TIF districts. All right, so the downtown TIF district is probably about 5 years old.
Yeah, and if you add another, you're probably looking at maybe another 10, 12 years before you want to close it out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we'd want to close it out sooner than that, but But
Depends
before,
on the agreement you set up and whether you got to do a system of pay-go and how far that has to extend.
well, it's all
over.
pay-as-you-go.
Yep.
The TIF districts
Yep.
are pay-as-you-go, so it has to do with the negotiation on
Yes.
what percentage is going to be granted them for their TIF, and that's just, those are negotiations. Also, Plan Commission heard the other day, you probably saw this, or at least were made aware of it, about Lit Bridge Brewery going in over at the dog track. Which adds valuation over there. That one's been TIF district since 2017, 2018. And again, the more valuation we get added, the more development going out there, the quicker these things can get paid off. That would be the one that would be the closest to being paid off. And I think we're at about 75 million in valuation out there, something like that right now. Any idea, you guys? Am I right, somewhere in that ballpark? Depending upon what Phillips decides to do, they stalled in their development out there. They had a duplicate building to the one that they already have constructed that was on the drawing board. That was another 250,000, I think, square feet, something like that. And then they also had another phase where they're going to bring in their international design group, which essentially is their international headquarters, I believe. Those two buildings would add, there's just a huge amount of valuation that is still capable out there. And we haven't had a conversation with Phillips in a while. Anyway, so those are things that are out there that are going to impact the future of all of this. And hopefully, if we get those projects out there moving, especially in the dog track, I don't know why I keep calling it that, but we could maybe close that out in 5 years, something like that, perhaps. That would be the earliest, but that would be a good thing to have happen.
And then the reminder of taking all of that net new construction when it's available.
Right, that all comes online then, and that's huge.
I think that's all I had. Just a couple,
that all?
a couple little
Just a couple
things,
of
yeah. Brent, is there anything?
No, I don't have anything further to add, other than there's a lot of difficult decisions, and we appreciate y'all taking the time. Trying to do this on a standard meeting night, it was going to be tough. So we appreciate y'all for meeting with us individually, and then also taking the time today to go over all this. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff yet on the horizon. We got a few pieces of the puzzle to add together, but over the next 3-4 weeks, we'll have those other things like healthcare ready to talk about, and hopefully we have a near final budget by October 5th to go out for publish. Anything can change between then and November 3rd as far as any line item that we want to do or changes that we want to do going forward. So we'll give you those pieces that we promised, the line items or whatever else you need. Got any questions, we're here.
Okay, everybody good? Anything? We have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's approved, we stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.